to do that. So we've got about a minute before we're scheduled to start the official training for tonight. Again, I will be repeating much of what I just said, probably in a slightly different wording, slightly different format. And when you're ready, we'll just go ahead and, like I said, at 4 o'clock, make sure you have lots of things to write with. Make sure you have paper, pencils, lots of caffeinated beverages, oxytocin-laden substances, things of that nature. So. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Killer Influence, Weapons of Social Seduction, soon to be titled something a little bit less provocative, and I'll talk about that in a minute. My name is Dr. David Snyder, and in 2020, I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world by globalgurus.org. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the most powerful secrets for influencing human beings to love you, trust you, and believe what you say and do what you want. If you take the information that we're going to share with you tonight, and you apply it as we teach you with another live human being, you will rapidly gain the ability to never lose an argument, never fail a job interview, and you'll never miss a sale again. And that sounds like a big set of claims, but you don't have to believe a single thing that I'm going to teach you tonight. In fact, belief is not essential. What is essential is following the instructions and actually doing them with a live human being. If you do that, you will have an amazing result, right? But I can't multiply zeros, okay? If you follow the instructions, if you do the drills, the skills will work for you, okay? My children just got home, so if you hear noise and screaming and gnashing of teeth in the background, it's because they're just children, and that's how it works. A couple of things before we get into the official part of our presentation. First disclaimer. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your Tuesday night. My intention is never to offend anyone, but my particular style of teaching does tend to be very provocative. I don't lie to people. I don't bullshit people. I tell people what I believe and what I feel and what I've seen proven out in the real world. My intent tonight is to deliver to you powerful, solid, actionable content, things that you can take out into the world right away and start putting to work to make your life more of what you want it to be and get your life moving in that direction, okay? If you've trained yourself to go into webinar mode when somebody starts presenting information, I'm going to ask you to kind of step out of that mode. If you've trained yourself to think in 90-minute blocks, like many of us who do webinars or who've been spend a lot of time on webinars have done, our webinars tend to go a bit longer. Okay. And the reason is because unlike many webinars where it's, fluff, 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 tease, 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 pitch, buy my stuff, 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 fluff, 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 question, 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 pitch, 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 buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, done in 2 hours or less. That's not how we do things. There will be an offer at the end, at key points. We'll tell you about that during the webinar. But our job here is going to be to deliver as much content as humanly possible. So first and foremost, we're going to teach for about an hour, hour to hour and 10 minutes. We will talk about the training package we've put together for you. We will go through that as thoroughly as possible and give you an opportunity to raise your hand if it's something you're interested in. Once that part is done, we will be circling back and we will continue teaching and training more content for the next 90 minutes. So you're looking at probably at least a 3-hour webinar if you factor in everything. We usually go a bit longer. I'll be upfront and honest with you, because one of the things that I love probably more than anything, don't tell my wife this, is I love to teach. I love to interact with people. I love to watch the light bulbs go off in people's minds and empower them to get the things they want. So that being said, a couple more things. If you are a first-time viewer, if this is your first time venturing into the world of Planet David, go ahead and type your name and where you're checking in from and first time in the chat. If you're a veteran of Planet David, and this maybe like you're like Seth Breedbark, who's been to 50 plus trainings, or Teresa, who's been to 5 or 6 trainings now and loves what we do, or any Cynthia, who's been on our virtual student now for almost a year, right? Type in that you're a Planet David veteran. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because as I go through this webinar, you're going to have questions, right? And you're going to have questions about how you can apply these things in your life, and you should. In fact, there's a drill we're going to do later where we're going to connect every single thing in this webinar to what you most emotionally want. It's going to be one of the most powerful influence tools you'll ever learn. And we're going to start by giving you an experience of what it feels like. Okay. But there will be questions that you have. And many times when people get excited, the questions fly by so fast in the chat, I don't either see them or I just have to keep going with the content that we've planned. So what I ask you to do is, if you have that question, especially new people, if you have that question, ask it. For those of you who've been around Planet David, who have experience applying the technology that we teach in the application that's being asked about, I would ask my students, my older students, my newer students, people who had direct experience and real success with this in the world, to answer those questions. Just type them in the chat, type your answers in the chat, who they're directed at, things of that nature. And that way, everybody's questions will be satisfied and answered. If you still have a question about it, this is a live webinar that we're doing. We're streaming through Zoom. And so there will be a copy that will be available as a replay, but there will also be a live version of this webinar available almost immediately after we're done. If your question still got unanswered, go back to the comment section underneath this video. Type in your question, because I always read the questions that people ask, and I always answer them. So if I don't answer it online in real time, or almost real time, because if you're in our Zoom room, you're getting everything in real time. If you're coming at us from our YouTube platform, if I type something in the chat, it's in real time. But if I'm just speaking here like I am into the camera and to you directly, there's about a 60-second lag between the words coming out of my mouth and when they hit your platform, maybe more depending on where you are in the world and what the status of your internet is. So just keep that in mind. I will try to kind of keep everybody balanced and still move things forward. Okay. So with that being said, a couple other things. This means yes. This means no. This means I know the answer. This doesn't apply quite so much in a virtual format. This means I don't know the answer. This means, oh shit, I hope he doesn't call on me next, right? I rarely do, but every now and then I just randomly pick somebody from the audience and I just do a drill with them or something like that, okay? So that being said, Seth, did I miss anything? I don't think I did, but if I missed something, Seth is usually the first to tell me. Let's jump in to the topic for tonight's class, which is the psychological master keys of charisma, chemistry, and connection, and social skills. How to never lose an argument, fail a job interview, or miss a sale ever again, all without lying, cheating, or stealing. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So this is our by the way, we're probably going to change this title soon because apparently Facebook has a problem with words like weapons, but that's all right. All right. So discover the psychological master keys to have people hanging on your every word. How to never lose an argument, fail a job interview, or miss a sale ever again, all without lying, cheating, or stealing. This is our class for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. And I am your host, Dr. David Snyder. You may be asking, who the heck is David Snyder and why should I care? Well, first and foremost, I am an actual doctor. This is my copy of my diploma from the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a licensed and practicing acupuncturist since 2005. I've run a clinic in Solana Beach where my specialty is treating physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotion. So while many people in the neurolinguistic field, in the hypnotherapy field, deal with things like weight loss and smoke cessation, nail biting, things of that nature, I deal with illnesses that are manifesting as a result of repressed emotion. So we get multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, cancer, scoliosis, intestinal problems, herpes outbreaks, many things that have an emotional underpinning, which is about 80% of things going into a doctor's office, by the way. And we go in and we help set people free. We teach them how to get rid of those negative emotions, how to overcome their fears and blocks to success. We do a lot of trauma work out of the clinic. So we help people recover from all levels of trauma, PTSD, war trauma, domestic abuse, child abuse, things, sexual abuse, things of that nature. So I like to think that we get the really cool. I consider those applications some of the most fulfilling personally, and I love doing that kind of work. And it's taught me a tremendous amount about how human beings work from the inside out. I, you know, with as much humility as I can muster. I'm not the most humble guy in the world. I'll be the first to tell you. I've looked into the hearts and minds of literally thousands of people, and when you look into that sacred space, inevitably you see the same thing. You see a scared little child, terrified of being alone and desperate to be accepted and loved. And when you give a child, that little inner child that each of us has, those experiences, that realization, that certainty, that truth, that they have those things, they can overcome and go through anything. And I'm waxing on that a bit now because as we go through the technology that I'm going to share with you tonight, you're going to be tapping into parts of that. You're going to learn how to structure your communications in such a way that not only does the adult respond to you, but the child inside of them that grew into that adult will respond to as well. Now, you don't need to know that, but it just happens to be one of the things that I think really needs to be understood. Okay. So, and again, and that's a copy of my doctorate, but there's more. In 2020, I was named the #1 NLP trainer of the world by globalgurus.org. I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, everything from how to be more attractive, how to be a better lover, how to get over traumas in record time, how to remove pain and fear, how to do advanced sales and marketing techniques, copywriting, things of that nature. I consider myself a specialist in human influence technologies. I codename that SHIT. And I do some serious shit, I'll tell you that. But strategic or specialized human influence technologies is what I consider what I do. So when it comes to applications, I'm all about how do we gain the most influence? How do we exert the most influence over ourselves? How do we exert the most influence over others in a way that's ethical and honest and gets everybody what they want? Okay. Our work's been studied by people in the Pentagon, the intelligence communities, through the seduction communities, the therapy communities. I'm very proud of the work that we've done and the amazing changes that people have gotten just from our free content. Interestingly, in 2020, this is a letter I got from globalgurus.org, as a matter of fact, and I'll read it to you really quick. It says, "Dear David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence," which is, by the way, the material that you are learning from is from this course. It is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best program in the world for NLP. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And of course, they attach a little link here. And if you go to that page, here you can see that Killer Influence was indeed, among all of its competitors, named the #1 course of its kind in the world, which is interesting. You know, a little fun fact to it is I never promoted Killer Influence as an NLP course. It certainly derives from NLP and other disciplines, but I never pictured it as an NLP program per se. It was all about real world application and influence in any time, anywhere, for any reasons. So I also have a very, very strong background in the martial arts as well as energy work. In fact, I always make the joke that I have more energy credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers, although that's the thing I talk about the least. I hold a 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate, 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kung Tao, 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo Ryu, 1st degree black belt in Fanku Ryu Jiu-Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in Combat Sistema. It's a Russian martial art, Cinco Mano Eskrima and Modern Arnis. I have a Reiki master teacher. I've been a Reiki master since the early 90s, since before Reiki was cool. I've been studying Kabbalah since before Madonna ever heard of Kabbalah, so I'm very much a pre-Madonna. I'm an advanced pranic healer and pranic psychotherapist. I'm trained and certified in advanced DNA theta healing and manifestation. I've trained with the Bankston energy system, as well as many forms of Qigong, which I absolutely love. And I teach those things to my inner circle students. So after you go through the long and drawn out list of David accomplishments, you may be asking, what do all these things have in common? Well, besides me, a concept called pattern recognition. Now, what does pattern recognition have to do with human influence? Well, honestly, everything. You see, everything human beings do has a structure. Everything human beings do recurs in patterns, patterns of movement, patterns of thought, patterns of speech, patterns of emotion. And when you understand how to recognize those patterns and use those patterns, you can influence the directions people take and the emotions that they feel. And if you have a good heart, you can do it ethically and honestly and make sure that everybody gets what they want. So at the end of the day, where all these things come together is in actually two places. And I'll jump off the PowerPoint really quick for this. In addition to pattern recognition, they all intersect at the human nervous system. No matter what discipline, what application you're working with, it all is processed and facilitated through the human autonomic and central nervous systems, the proprioceptive nervous systems, and your mirror neurons. Today, you are going to learn how to tap into that process, that entire system, using simple language and understanding language in a way that most people never will. It's going to be fast, it's going to be fun, it's going to be easy. You don't need to know all the biochemical processes, how many potassium ions are jumping from neuron to make this work. All you got to do is the things we tell you to do, and you're going to be awesome. Okay? Don't believe me. Have fun, be playful, be curious, and just play with this stuff. And you will rapidly discover. I think I need to mute some people here. Hold on a second. Let's mute everyone. No, you may not unmute yourselves. Okay. All right. Oops. What just happened there? Okay. All right. We're back. All right. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Pattern recognition. Okay. So is this class for you? Well, let's find out. If you can answer yes to any of these questions, then you're probably in the right place. If you would like to be more attractive to the opposite sex, make them find you charming, fascinating, maybe even irresistible, type yes in the chat if that's something you'd like. If you'd like to remove fear and insecurity from your life, radiate confidence, assertiveness, power, maybe even be considered truly alpha in a situation or circumstance, go ahead and type "that's me" in the chat room. If you'd like to make more money from your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion you know you deserve, go ahead and type that yes in the chat for that, right? If you would like to protect yourself from manipulators, narcissists, social predators, and handle difficult people more easily, this is the right place for you, okay? If you'd like to have people thinking and feeling and acting the way you want them to, so that they naturally want to follow your lead, so they like and love and trust you, you're in the right place, okay? If you would like the ability to cause anyone you meet to like and admire you, maybe even love you, sometimes in as little as 20 minutes, you're in the right place. We may tease you a little bit about that. If people want to go deeper into that aspect, I'm happy to do that. This is your webinar, by the way, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. If you'd like to nail 2 or 3 out of job interviews or more on the spot and have them salivating to hire you, this has happened with a bunch of people already. When I first made that claim, a lot of people screamed bullshit. Then they did it. They took the process. They went out. They did it with a prospective employer, and boom. When the job wasn't available, they actually made a job for these people, okay? If you are a leader in any situation or circumstance, if you like to inspire your employees, your children, your spouse to do what you want them to do, have them want to do it, this is the place for you to be, all right? If you'd like to surround your friends who are actually a good fit for you, friends that you can trust, friends who are loyal, friends who are a fit for the person you want to be, this is a really good place for you to be right now. If you'd like to be able to, just saying, if you've ever fantasized about having the ability to put anyone under your spell just by talking to them, even if you have zero knowledge of hypnosis or NLP or any of that other stuff, you're in the right place, okay? Now, the important thing to remember is this personal promise to you. Now, again, let me jump off this really quick. So here's the thing. If this is the scope of everything we have to learn, or that we could learn, tonight we have time for about this much. So here's my personal promise to you. I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I will point you in the direction of where to go for more. Is that a fair trade? If you feel that's fair, type that's fair in the chat. And if I could show you everything that would move your life forward, would you be willing to take the next step? If you're willing to do that, go ahead and type that in the chat as well. Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Because if you take the steps, you'll get the results. That's all I can say. I can't multiply zeros, but I can show you how to, I can't take away the learning curve, but I can help you dramatically shorten it. Okay. Okay. So cool. So here's where we're going tonight. Once again, if you stay on till the end of tonight's webinar, I promise you, if you stay until the end, I'm going to teach you the fastest, most powerful, and direct way to make people like, love, and trust you. I'm going to teach you how to have people hanging on your every word. I'm going to show you in explicit detail how to emotionally bond with another human being and bond them to your product, to your service, or to, and make them want to do what you want them to do. And if you stay on till the end and you follow my instructions, I will teach you how to go from just an interesting set of information to becoming a master of unstoppable persuasion. Okay, that's my promise to you tonight. For those of you willing to follow the process, hang on and strap in. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this webinar isn't about me. I know that sounds weird because I'm just a weird dude wearing a very loud vest doing all these weird things. This webinar is actually about you. And this is where we begin to customize tonight's content for you. So here's my question to you. What is the biggest, most important question you have today about how to influence others that you would like the answer to? Okay, type the answer in your chat. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Type the answer for your biggest, most important question about how to influence others in the chat. And then we're going to jump right in to our first drill. And there will be some writing for this drill, so you might want to have some writing tools available to do that. Okay. Okay. And by the way, I read all the chats, like I said, because that's how I figure out what content to create for you, right? I like to think of myself as a universal problem solver in terms of human influence issues. And so the more I know about what you want and what you need, the better I can design content for you that actually satisfies that. You may hear a flute in the background. It's because my daughter is taking her virtual flute lesson and she's in the next room. So how to enroll ideas, how to enroll people to my ideas and proposals. Perfect. Okay. Let's see here. What else we got? Can it also be about yourself? Yes. Yeah. Because the first person you need to learn to influence is you. There's no other way around it. If you can't influence yourself, you're at the mercy of whatever rapport or situation you find yourself in. Okay. In fact, the very first exercise that we're going to do to ourselves so you can understand what you're going to be doing with other people. Okay. And by the way, if you understand this one drill that we're about to do correctly, it is possible to get people to do things that are not in their best interests. So I have a fervent hope that after you learn how this process works, that you will use it for the good of all. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right. So the drill we're about to go into is called the emotional bonding checklist. Now you'll notice on your screen that there's a diagram. This is called, this target diagram here is known as the Universal Persuasion Protocol. Okay. This is a six-stage formula, 7 if you count the little know your outcome up top here, that allows you to exert influence anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. It tells you exactly what step to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. When you get really, really good at it, you can skip half the steps, just do the first 2 and the last one, and you will absolutely have an 80% chance of getting everything you want from the person. 80% of your influence is done before you actually open your mouth. Now, we're going to be focusing on the center of the persuasion bullseye today. Sometimes I do language, sometimes I do rapport. Well, we'll be touching on rapport today. But we're going to be focusing on getting to the center of the persuasion bullseye, tapping into a person's emotional bonding checklist. And the emotional bonding checklist is a way for you to emotionally find out and discover what a person most needs and wants, and using your language, talking only about the product or the aspect of your product, service, or yourself that directly satisfies it. So again, if you study the Killer Influencer CPI systems, you will learn this process backwards and forwards. It's very good for dating, as Teresa says, right? Very powerful. In fact, I just taught a 4-day class using this exact model for dating, mating, and relating. It was a co-ed class. I think Teresa was there, right? So that's the big system. We're going to be teaching you parts of it today. If you want more, just pay attention and stay till the end of the webinar. We will show you how to get the entire training for the system. Karen's asking how to tell a person to be less selfish. We'll show you that. Okay, so this is our first exercise. For this is called the emotional bonding checklist. Now, one of the concepts that I want to talk to you about is something we call the echo technique. And it's going to play a big role in your ability to deliver this emotional bonding process. Okay, but we're going to do this exercise. We're going to do this exercise together first, so that you can experience the feelings that this generates for you. And so here's what we're going to do for this exercise. You will need a pencil and a paper and a piece of paper, something to write on. Okay, and what I want you to do on that first line, let me see if I can pull up my template for this exercise. And you can take a screenshot of this if you want to. For people who really are interested in taking this further, I will give you an email address after we've processed whatever orders you make that you can, I will put all of these techniques into a PDF that you can begin, that you can follow along with and use in upcoming webinars and things of that nature. So what we've got here is called the emotional bonding checklist. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to open up and look inside of a person's heart, pay attention to the things that are emotionally driving them to want the problem or want the solution you offer, and allow you to bond them emotionally to your product or service. So it makes them want to do what you want them to do. Let's see here. Here's the process. So what we're going to do is I want you to get out a piece of paper. Hold on a second, see if I can move this over. Here we go. And on that piece of paper, I want you to write what I want from today's webinar. What do I want from, what tool do I want to get from today's webinar? What do I want to be able to do as a result of attending this webinar? Okay. I want you to write that question out, and I want you to write the answer right next to it. And I want you to underline that answer. Okay. And when you've done that, type done in the chat so I know, and we'll continue with the next part of the process. Again, if you don't do the drill, you won't have the experience. If you don't have the experience, you won't realize the power of what you're learning right now. Hold on a second. I actually need to show you. Hold on a second. I apologize. I didn't realize I wasn't sharing my screen. Here's a template to follow. Okay. Okay. So once again, let me make this a little bit bigger for you here. If there was a specific application, a specific result you wanted to come to this webinar to get a tool to accomplish, if you got that tool and you were able to apply it, what would that do for you? What would that do for you? Just physically write down what that would do for you. Now, I'm not going to ask you to read it. I'm not going to ask you to share it. This is uniquely personal to you. All right. But I need you to do this. I need you to write this down physically for me. Okay. And when you're done, just type it in the, okay, good. Everybody's typing done. Excellent. Now, close your eyes. Close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you actually got the tool that would allow you to achieve that result. And I want you to imagine what that might be like. What might you see when you have it? What might you hear? What might you smell? What might you taste? Because when you do that, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's a feeling that you get because it gets a result for you. Now, when you have that result, what's important about that to you? What does it do for you? So once again, we're here now. We're at this section here that I'm kind of mousing over. When you have that result, what's important about it? And either type or write in your, if you're doing this on a notepad or something, you can type it in, of course. If you're using on a piece of paper, which I always recommend, Write in your answer. What's important about having that? What's it do for you? When you're done, type that in the chat. Cool. Excellent. You guys are doing well. Okay, I know this sounds kind of weird, kind of convoluted. All will be revealed. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to read the answer to the first question to yourself out loud. What's that going to do for me? Then read the second answer. And then ask yourself this question. What's important about that? And write your answer. And when you've done that, type done in the chat. Perfect. You guys are doing good, right? Now, some of you you're kind of cheating because this is not your first webinar rodeo, but that's all right. So again, when you're done, type done in the chat and we'll move on to the next piece. Makes me smiling. Excellent. Wait, we're just getting started, Peter. Hold on. So now what I want you to do is I want you to read this part out loud. Read this part out loud. And then your third answer here, right? Read that out loud and then ask yourself ultimately. And what I mean by ultimately is if you got this, and then you got this, and then you got this, what would that ultimately do for you? What's important to you about that? And write that down. And when that's done, just type done in the chat. Now, here's the interesting thing is you don't, in most cases out in the real world, you don't need to go this far. But for training, I'm going to teach you something really powerful. Okay. Be more charismatic. Very good. Now, when you're done, just type done in the chat so I know you've done the exercise. Okay. Feel powerful enough to help others. Excellent. Perfect. Now stand up, take your paper, hold it in your hands, and read the answers out loud no less than 7 times. And when you've done that, type done in the chat. Repeat them out loud with emotion and conviction. And when you're done, type done in the chat. Cool. Rolando says done. Excellent. Some of you guys are going deep on this one. It's good. Peachy's asking, can I say what I wrote down? If you really want to, it's not necessary. Okay. Julie says done. Matthew says done. Kathleen says sigh of relief. Now, type in the chat when you started repeating those words, just those words, in the sequence that came out of your mouth, came up verbatim. What happened in your body? Type what happened in your body when you were writing those words. And then what happened to you emotionally? What happened to you cognitively? We're done, relaxing, okay. Seems like a real deal. Energized. Open heart, Kenner says. The more I repeated, the more my body relaxed. Yes. Would you like to know why? Because it's dope. Because in that moment, you were tapping into your deepest emotional needs. Let me unshare this for now. In this moment, you were tapping into the emotional needs you most deeply want satisfied and connecting it to the tools you're getting in this webinar. Okay. Was it a good feeling? Yes or yes? Type it in the chat if it feels good. Right? This is the gift that you will be able to give every single human being that you choose to use this process with. Now, I gave you the nuts and bolts self-directed version. We're going to show you how to do this with other people. But how many of you noticed you started to get emotional? Like maybe even started to tear up a little bit. Go ahead and type that in the chat if you started to get emotional. Right? That's the secret. The act of eliciting this series of information causes a person to peel back the emotional armor that they have and taps into the most sensitive emotional needs they have for wanting the solution you're offering them. That solution could be a relationship with you. It could be a product that you think can fill their needs. It can be a service that you offer. But when you go through this process, the moment you start stimulating a person's emotional needs, you change the entire focus of their neurology. They start to go into a profound sense of rapport with the source of that elicitation process. And they begin to view you, or view this person, or this person begins to view you really as the source for satisfying those emotional needs. So not only do they actually believe or start to believe that you can satisfy them, they become immensely loyal and have good feelings while they're looking at you. So all of these things get linked very, very powerfully to the person that you're interacting with. Does that make sense? Because you just experienced it, right? If you did the drill, you just experienced body feelings that weren't there a minute ago. And yet they were. See, they were always there, but they were buried under layer after layer after layer of other stuff, words to be exact. But the truth is that whenever a human being talks to you, there will be phrases and words that they unconsciously emphasize. They will unconsciously separate out from the core of the rest of their communication in some way. They may do it through a gesture. They may do it through a volume change. They may do it through a tonality shift. For those of you who are trained, they will jump out at you like big flags, say, this is important, this is important, this is important. But what if you're not trained? What if you need a hack, a quick, easy, effective, practically idiot-proof way to get this level of attention and connection with somebody? I'm going to teach you how to do that now. And from this point on, as you're going through this process with me, I want you to remember that everything I'm teaching you assumes you're doing what I'm about to show you next. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, this technique is so powerful. The next technique is so powerful, so literally unstoppable, and it's so freaking simple that if I hadn't experienced it hundreds of times over and over and over again, if my students hadn't experienced it hundreds and hundreds of times over and over again, they would not believe that this thing has the power that it does. But it is so powerful that variations of it are actually used in hostage negotiation. So here is the next technique I want to teach you. This is the most powerful word and set of words any human being can hear in the moment. And here's what I want you to write down. The most powerful word any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Okay, I could give you all the neurolinguistics behind it. I can give you all the neuroscience behind it. I can give you all the hostage negotiation and social psychology reasons behind it. You don't need to know that. If people want to hang out till the end of the webinar and we're doing Q&A and things like that after you got your packages or whatever, I'm happy to point you towards the science behind it. Okay, it's ridiculous, the amount of science behind this concept that this technique is derived from. The technique is called the echo technique, and it literally compels a person's neurology to pay attention to you, because the most powerful words any human being can hear are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Okay, so let's talk about the echo technique really, really quick. We will circle around. That should bring us right up to, actually, we're moving pretty good in terms of the content that we want to cover. But I'll continue to teach until about the top of the hour. Then we'll do our offer, and I'll explain the train package and the programs and the opportunities we've got coming up for you. And then we'll circle back and we'll continue to teach, and we'll drill down on your specific questions about how to apply these things. Is that a fair deal? If you think that's fair, go ahead and type that in the chat for me. There's my daughter playing her flute in the background. Can you hear her? Yeah, cool. All right, excellent. All right, so let's look at the echo technique. The echo technique is one of the single most powerful linguistic techniques a person can use. Here we go. Here's how it works. This is the most powerful and a way for human beings to communicate. Why? Because it literally, let me make sure I've got, okay. Because it literally forces a person's neurology to pay almost exclusive attention to you and pretty much disregard everything else. If you've ever been at a party and you're talking to somebody and somebody mentions your name that you're from across the room and you turn around and look, you're tapping into this mechanism. So your unconscious mind is constantly scanning for things that are relevant to itself. Human beings are like little sonars. They're moving through the world, sending out little pings, like sonar pings or radar pings. And what they're looking for is a reflection of itself to come back to them. And so when you start using a person's very own words to communicate, they can't not pay attention. Now, you got to do it from a sincere desire to connect and communicate. If you do that, it will stimulate a cascade of neurochemicals in their mind and body that force them to become extremely attentive to you. They will start to be they will start to have a big oxytocin release when they look at you. Even dopamine will start to begin to be formed just from this process. But you don't need to know all the biochemical stuff for this to work. Just remember that the most important words any human being can hear, the ones they want to hear, more often than not, at a neurological level, are the ones that just came out of their mouth. So this will eliminate, if you're someone who's like hates small talk, is always struggling with what to say, this is going to be one of the coolest things you've ever learned, because one of the neurological side effects of using the echo technique is that it actually causes people to want to talk more. It literally primes them for continued self-disclosure. And the best part about this process is the longer they talk, the more connected and attracted to you in many cases they become. Connection for sure. Attraction can be there, or it can be stimulated using other methods. But the secret is when a person gets their very own words coming back to them, right? Which is what you did. Remember when I had you drill down what's important about, and if you got that, what's important about that, and if you got that, what's important about that? All I had you do in that moment was repeat your very own words back to you, and your body had this sudden cascade of neurological and electrical activity that was enjoyable, that was positive, that was pleasant, right? And how many of you started to find yourself wanting to type more about what you were doing or what you're experiencing in the chat? Some of you were even asking me, can I type it in the chat? You wanted to self-disclose. You wanted to elaborate. You wanted to give me more information, right? That's the process you will trigger in every human being that you do this with from a place of sincerity and a sincere desire to connect, okay? If you view this as just a trick to do with people to get them to do what you want, it'll still work to a greater or lesser degree. But if you truly come from a place of this is the most pleasant, rewarding, desirable way for a human being to be communicated with, it's the way that on a neurological level, they most want to be communicated with. Well, if you don't do it, who's the asshole now, right? But you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. Just go out into the world, use a person's very own words, and notice what happens to them. By the way, if you're doing this with servers like bartenders, waitresses, waiters, be very careful because it will work. And what will happen is they will become so focused on you that they'll forget their other clients or their other customers. So be very respectful of the power that you're wielding with this. Now, in the exercise I gave you earlier, we stacked this echo technique on top of what we call your emotional bonding checklist. The most powerful words a person can hear at any given moment are the ones that came out of their mouth. When those words are directly connected to an emotional need, they become even more powerful. They become multiplied exponentially. So you can do this on a very superficial level and create very, very powerful, deep level connection and intimacy and a need for a desire for more validation in the person that you're talking to in seconds, literally in seconds. Or if you want, you can drill down deeper to their emotional needs and link them to you, your product, or your service. Does that make sense? Do you get what I'm teaching you now? If you get it, type in the chat what you think I just taught you. So friend says, I did this with a friend of mine for about 20 minutes. She wouldn't shut up. Then I told her what I was doing. She continued repeating her words back. And I continued repeating her words back until after she knew I was doing it, and she still couldn't shut up. Yes, it's a neurological primer. Right? If it weren't the most ethical and honest way to communicate with another human being, I would say it's unfair. But honestly, it's actually the way we all want to be communicated with. Now, if all you do is repeat their words back verbatim, it's going to be a very boring conversation. But you use the words that come out of their mouth as your base to ask questions from and to steer and guide the correction. We teach you that in Killer Influence. Right now, this is all you need to know to really have cool stuff today. Pac-Man, is that Pac-Man? Or CNC Man 420 says, that was pretty cool, David. Thank you. It is cool. It really is. And, you know, I was doing this for years. And I truly did not appreciate the power that it has. And I was like, I said, I taught this stuff, you know, I've been teaching the CPI system now for almost 10 or 15 years. We've been refining it constantly over that time. And I taught this echo technique way back then in 2004 when we first started doing it. But I emphasized different things in the course at that time because of where I was. But as time went on, you start to see what things inevitably have more and more energy, more and more magnitude and scope to them that allow you to exert massive influence and be charismatic and generate connection and chemistry in the shortest amount of time possible. It's this simple stuff. People are moving through the world looking for themselves. And when you can reflect that back to them, they cleave to you like cement. They do not want to give you up. If you can link that cleaving process to your product or service that directly satisfies their deepest emotional needs, they will hold on to you like your life preserver after the Titanic has gone down. The brand loyalty, the customer loyalty, the friendships that you will generate, the team cohesiveness that comes from this is off the charts. But don't believe me, just go out into the world, be immensely curious and play with it. Okay, so let me just go through the rest of this and then we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this will prime your target to just keep talking. It will send very, very powerful signals of sameness to the listener. This is something that I just talked about a minute ago, is that human beings are moving through the world searching for themselves. And when they find somebody who reflects back to them an aspect of themselves, they become much more comfortable and much more attracted to that person. And attraction, I just did a 4-day workshop where we utilized some of these skills and a whole lot of others. One of the things you need to understand about attraction is that when it comes to attraction, you have to be different enough to be interesting without being unsafe or scary, and similar enough to be comfortable. When you have that balance, you have attraction. Okay, one of my colleagues in the behavioral analysis field, Bart Baggett, used to say opposites attract but seldom stick. That's true enough to be true. Opposites do attract, but if there's not enough similarity there, people soon go their separate ways for lack of common ground. This is a way to create a very powerful, deep neurological common ground with another person that you can begin to stack things onto. And if you learn nothing else from this webinar but the echo technique, you would have the ability to 10x your results out in life. But don't believe me, just again, you don't have to believe it, you just got to do it. Okay. The longer they talk, this is one of the key things. When you start using this technique with people, let me go back to this. When you start using this technique with people, remember this: they will want to keep talking. They will want to tell you more. Let them. Let them talk. The longer they talk, the more connected and attracted to you they become. One of the worst things you can do sometimes is just randomly interrupt people. Now, if we have time, I can maybe talk about some ways to make this more covert if you want, but right now you don't need that. The way you make this work out in the field is you don't look for the special words they lean on. You don't look for any tonal shifts. You don't look for any of that. All you do is when it's your turn to speak, you use as many of their words in your sentences, in your stories, as close to the order and sequence as you can that they used. That's all you got to do. If you just do that, you will trigger this phenomenon, and they will just keep continuing to self-disclose and become more connected and validated, because nobody has given them that feeling in a long time. Nobody has given them the feeling of being completely heard, accepted, and understood. And that's exactly what you're doing as the foundation of the relationship that you're building, right? This trust that you're generating in this person is completely organic. It's the way it's supposed to be. And people feel naturally good about moving forward with the next step if you pay attention to the signs, okay? Brenna's asking, what if you decide you don't really like the person and want to stop making that connection? You do everything the opposite of what I just said. You mismatch their words, you give them your back, you disagree with the things that they say, and boom, they will break that connection very, very quickly. Okay. Let's see here. I don't need to go into that. Okay, cool. So does everybody understand the echo technique and how it's used? Go ahead and type that in the chat if you get it. Let me look at my YouTubers here. Cool. Hold on, we got a question on our YouTube channel. Let me take a look at this real quick. Okay. All right, nothing worth talking about right now. Okay, good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about, well, what questions do you, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead, I understand the echo technique and how it is used. Excellent. Makes sense, got it, boss, perfect. Yes, through your YouTube videos, cool. All right, very cool. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and talk about, is this useful, by the way? Is this, can you connect how using this technique moves that list you made earlier forward? If you can, go ahead and type that in the chat for me. Absolutely, yes. I just got here. Can you leave the video up? Yeah, we'll be leaving this video up for a day or two, so. Okay. Okay. I should do a call with Steve P. I did a couple of videos with Steve P for those of you who have been around for Planet David for a while. Okay, very good. So yes, I see how we do this unconsciously all the time. Yeah, we do. And honestly, if you're familiar, for those of you who want to do, I'll give you just some quick references. For those of you who want to kind of look into some of the social science behind this, there is a book by a Stanford researcher named Dr. Alexander Penland. He wrote a book called Honest Signals, and he defines 4 channels of influence that are active in all socially competitive environments. One of which is known as mimicry, which is exactly what you're doing on a linguistic level when you do this. It's one of the most powerful processes that human beings engage in, and you can manage it. You can actually engineer these things, okay? So what we're gonna do now is it okay for me to talk about the training package we put together? Is that okay? Okay, cool. So here's what we're gonna do. we've started at the beginning of the webinar by showing you that every human being has, oh, let me put it to you this way. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, period. It's either a feeling they want a whole lot more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Your job is to give them the exact feelings they need to feel comfortable taking the actions you want them to take. The way that you do that is by understanding that for anything a human being can conceive of, life insurance, the perfect spouse, the perfect husband, wife, girlfriend, perfect pizza, stick of bubble gum, pen, for what anything a human being can conceive of, they have an internal checklist that they're trying to check the boxes for. When you use a person's very own words, you match those check boxes perfectly. Their body generates a feeling of desire and trust and empathy. That feeling gets connected to you. And all you have to do from that moment forward is only talk about the aspects of yourself, your product, or your service. This is where the echo technique comes in. That deliberately satisfies and directly satisfies the things they just told you. Okay? This emotional bonding checklist has 3 pieces to it. The first one we talked about is the checklist, the elements that have to be satisfied, how they know they're getting what they want. When those checklists are satisfied, as you check all the boxes for what you wanted from this webinar, right? Your body generated a feeling, did it not? Right? And you gave that feeling a name, right? That's what we're doing. When you elicit the checklist, you elicit the names, and you give and you talk about the aspect of your product or service that directly satisfies those needs, using their words to do it, that cascade of body feelings that you experienced begins to happen. People go into that state of trust, chemistry, and connection, and they realize that they're getting everything that they wanted by taking the next step with you. You see how it all fits together? Type that in the chat. Okay. You guys ready to take the next step? Okay, excellent. So here's what happens next. I'm going to talk about a special training package we put together for you. When I come back, we're going to do some demonstrations. We'll go deeper into this emotional bonding checklist. We will circle around and continue to teach more stuff, more language patterns, or whatever it is you want to learn more about. After this, we'll talk about. And before I get into the next piece, what do you want to know more about? Based on what I've talked about, based on what your needs and desires are, when I'm done talking about the training program that you're going to take, what do you want to do next? Type in the chat what you want to do next. So Bernardini is asking, when you tell someone to remember a time when they had a certain feeling and they go back and start feeling it, is it possible to link those feelings? Yes, just the act of asking the question will cause that process to begin. The difference will be, you open a window, you create a spark. How do you fan it into a flame? Okay. How do you quickly get back into a controlled state? Oh, okay. All right. Well, the purview of this is influencing humans. But eliciting values, okay, we can do that, Roger says. And eliciting values is really what we've been doing, okay? We call it the emotional bonding checklist because when you talk about criteria and values elicitation, which is the NLP term for it, people go, huh? What does that mean, right? What we want to do is we want to emotionally bond people to us, our product or our service, and we want to do it in such a way that they feel absolutely good about going forward. In fact, more often than not, when you do this properly, you won't have to ask them to buy it. They'll ask you. Okay. 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 All right. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and teach you about some things that we've got coming up and give you an opportunity to maybe get in on the ground floor for that, if that's something you want to do. Would that be fair? Type that in the chat for me. Who wants to take their stuff to the next level? If you're ready, type I'm ready in the chat. Cool. All right. Here's what we're going to talk about. With your permission, and I've asked multiple times because I wanted to make sure that there was no, miscommunication here. I'd like to teach you about something I like to call the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Training Home Study Course. This is a set of courses that I've put together for you, designed to teach you how to influence humans anytime, anywhere, to believe what you say, do what you want, whether that is going out on a date with you, whether it's becoming a client, whether it's getting them to take out the trash, take you on a trip. I'm not a persuasion cop. These are your skills to use. And one of the things that I do, and if you ask any of my veteran students in the class, they'll actually confirm this. What I always tell my students is that before you choose any program, before you purchase any program I offer, talk to us first. Because if you've seen our website on the e-commerce side of things, you know we have a massive amount of product and courses available. And if you don't know what each course is about, you can get lost in the sauce. So it's always a good idea to talk to me, or a lot of my students are in the chat. Some of them are our platinum members, which means they've been through at least 10 to 12 trainings or more. Like if you're Seth, who's been around since the Stone Age, he's been to over 50 of them. Ask your questions, talk to these people. They will vouch for the technology. You expect me, I'll be upfront with you. You expect me to have an agenda. You expect me to try and sell you something. You expect me to tell you my stuff is the greatest in sliced bread. Don't believe me. Talk to the people who actually use the technology. Talk to the people who are actually winning in life as a result of these things. If you don't believe me, trust them, right? And then decide on yourself, for yourself, if you're worth it. But one of the things I want to kind of get out in the open really quick is if people come to me and they say, David, I have X amount of dollars, and I see that your live training is this much and your training course is this much. Which should I do? And without hesitation, I say, come to the live event. Why? Because at the live event, I can observe you in real time. I can give you drill after drill after drill. I can hardwire and install this stuff in you hypnotically as well as directly. I can give you chances to work with one person after another. We do more hands-on training than anyone in the industry. So if you want this stuff in you, come to the live event. That's what I tell them. Now, COVID hit, and I had to kind of pivot. I had to say, okay, well, wait a minute. Well, now a lot of people are not going to be able to come to a live event. How do I get this material into them in such a way that they have the same level of result or as close to the real life training result as possible? And so I sat down and I said, okay, what courses do they need? What order do they need them? And how do I make this accessible to people? So that's what we're about to go into. So if I had my druthers, I would say, get your asses to the live event so I can make sure you own this and you embody it. And we do more hands-on than any other training group in the industry. I'll tell you that right up front. And people can vouch for that. We have lots of people in the audience who have been through those trainings. You may have seen videos of them. So let's talk about this process that we've got for you and what steps to take to move forward. So once again, this is our Ultra Persuasion Home Study course. We designed this for you in mind so that you could get as close to real life results from our live events from the comfort of your own home. But we've got some really cool stuff in here for you. If you like the emotional bonding checklist, if you like the echo technique, we've got more stuff for you coming, actionable stuff that you can use on this webinar. But this is what you're going to be getting. First and foremost, this course is all about human influence. It's about helping you take your life to the next level in a way that you can calibrate. You don't got to believe it. You just got to do it. It's about making more money. It's about closing more deals. It's about getting more dates, helping people, feeling confident and powerful. It's about winning the game of life on your terms. It's about learning to become charming, charismatic, and irresistible in your own way. By moving through the world, helping everybody you meet get everything they want by doing what you want. That's a win-win. If you think that's a win-win and that's worth learning, type yes in the chat. Okay. So here's what we put together for you. And there is a limiter on this. This offer expires March 9th, 2021. During this Secrets of Human Influence home study course, you'll be introduced to the Universal Persuasion Protocol. You remember those 7 stages I told you about earlier? You'll be taught module by module how to do each one individually, right? We're going to teach you how to think like a master of influence, a master influencer. People who are good at persuasion, people who are good at getting people to want to do the things they want them to do, think differently than the average human being. Okay, it's not that they're Machiavellian or that they're necessarily very mercenary, but they understand how to speak to people in a way that triggers what they want. They know how to talk to people. They know how to set outcomes and move those outcomes forward and create a strategy. We're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to teach you that the reasons people fail at this and the reasons they succeed, and how to think and act and believe like a master of influencer. So even if you don't believe in yourself yet, you will by the time you complete that module, because this stuff is actually simple if you have the right instructions. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you how to control your own psycho-emotional state so nobody else can. Remember this, there is a war going on right now in the United States and across the world. It's a war for your mind, the space between your ears. And the way that they do that is they attack you in the feels. They attack you in the emotions. They get you feeling a certain way, which causes your reptilian brain, your mammalian brain, and your neocortex to change how they perceive the world. We're going to teach you step by step how to go into any psycho-emotional state as an act of will, and to transfer those emotions to other human beings in a testable way. You'll be able to learn how to go as far into a positive state as you want, as go as deeply into any negative state as you want, and have complete capability of going in and out of it to whatever degree that you need to. The reason we do this is because once you have this level of training, no one will ever be able to push your buttons ever again without your permission, without your consent. And even if they knock you off, maybe if they take you by surprise, you'll be able to regain your state instantly. It's a $297. It should be a $2,997 value, because this is the one that takes you to Jedi level. If you understand how to do state control really, really well, you can put the whammy on an entire room. It's really crazy. We're going to teach you power rapport skills. We're going to teach you how to control your emotional state, and then using a special vibrational rapport bridge, we're going to teach you how to link up with another person's neurology, like two Bluetooth synchronizing, and learn how to send emotional information back and forth in a way that you can test and verify. It's easy, it's fast, and it flies in the face of what a lot of NLP teachers are training and stuff like that. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you the 7 most irresistible hypnotic language patterns on the planet besides the echo technique. We'll teach you one pattern that allows you to direct a person's internal focus of awareness, that allows you to make them pay attention to certain things and completely ignore others. How to automate processes in their mind, that the minute you describe this process using this language pattern, their neurology begins to do it inside, with or without their conscious consent. We'll teach you a language pattern that allows you to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of your listeners, right? We'll teach you how to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your listeners. We'll teach you how to force a person's internal mind movies to be exactly what you want them to be without any fear of them being different. That's just a few tiny pieces of what that particular module will teach you. It's a $297 value. We need to raise these prices. We're going to teach you how to hijack someone's own internal behavior code. Remember, at the beginning of this webinar, I told you every single thing human beings do, let me explain this. Every single thing human beings do has a structure. They have a structure for how they get up in the morning. They have a structure for the way they walk. They have a structure for the way they talk. They have a structure for the way they think and believe and behave. And when you understand that structure and you can recognize it, you can fit your desires and needs into that structure, give it to them, and they will process it like they came up with it on their own. It'll be the most organic thing that they can do. Okay, we'll show you how to do that. And by the way, when you're doing the echo technique, you're already doing that. But we'll show you in very explicit details how that works and how to leverage it for maximum influence. Does that sound cool? If you think so, go ahead and type yes in the chat. It's a $297 value. We're also going to teach you, we're going to go even deeper into how to emotionally bond with another human being, how to tap into anyone's deepest desires and literally link them to you, your product, or your service in such a way that the thought of not working with you just gives them the heebie-jeebies. They can't even imagine going somewhere else. It's a $297 value. It is the single of all the things that we teach. This is the one that drives the human being most. A person cannot go against their emotional bonding checklist without experiencing emotional pain. Conversely, they cannot have their emotional bonding checklist stimulated without going into immense pleasure. That's why when you started repeating your words to yourself in that drill, your body was flooded with dopamine. It was flooded with oxytocin. You started to relax. You started to feel more confident. Things started to quiet down. Oleg's asking, where is the link to buy? For those of you who don't want to wait for me to finish, just go to http://www. killerinfluence.com/go. Look at that. She's already there. All right. Very cool. All right. So, all right, Stephanie's with us. Everybody say hi to Stephanie as you're clicking that link. Okay. We're going to include with this. Now, these are again, there's over 17 videos in this section. We're going to include with you a special textbook. We call this the Killer Influence Mastermind, our Mind Control Manifesto Control List. And hold on a second. Hold on. Those of you in the YouTube, I just posted the link. Maybe Stephanie or Brandon can go to our YouTube people and give them the link as well. Sorry, I'm trying to manage the chat at the same time I'm trying to teach you what else is going on here. Okay, so let me tell you about the Killer Influence Master Text really quickly. This is a 240+ page manual. And in addition to everything I just talked about, there are special chapters on cold reading. Cold reading is one of the most powerful and effective ways to gain authority in the minds of another human being. It allows you to look at somebody and make very educated guesses and talk to them in such a way that it sounds like you're psychic. Now, what's interesting is when that happens, when you can express to people things about themselves that there's no possible way that you could know, they start to become hyper suggestible to you. They start to view you as an expert on them. And so they start to become very focused. They start to view you as an authority in their world. And when you get to the Killer Influence program, we'll teach you about something called the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence. And those 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence are authority, attractivity, affinity, and acquiescence. These are 4 macro categories of influence that when you combine them in the right way will cause people to comply and want to please you. Okay? So we'll give you a whole list of techniques in the authority system, a whole list of techniques in the affinity system, a whole list of techniques in the acquiescence and pillars as well. So you can cherry pick them and put them together. So that's one of the extra chapters that we put in there. We're also going to teach you about social hypnotic operators. Social hypnotic operators are hypnotic phenomena, hypnotic triggers that have been hardwired by society and culture and family and religion into you, that when you stimulate these triggers in exactly the right way, people behave in very predictable ways. So if you've read any of Robert Cialdini's work like Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, you may have heard of things called reciprocity, social proof, liking, commitment and consistency, consensus, right? These are all social hypnotic operators. They're triggers that activate in everyone that you can learn to activate at will. You can engineer very powerful influence and persuasion environments. That's another one of the modules in the Killer Influence Master Text. Another module in the Killer Influence Master Text is called proxemic hypnotic operators. Proxemic hypnotic operators are phenomena that you can create or that occur naturally in an environment that cause people to psychologically perceive you in a certain way. For example, If I'm at a conference table and here's the head of the table, here's the foot of the table, if I take either one of these positions, I'm automatically given more authority by everyone at the table, regardless of my actual social status. We call these proxemic hypnotic operators. If I know somebody is right-handed and I stand on their right side, they will like me more than if I stand on their non-dominant side. Okay. One final thing. There's an aspect to proxemic hypnotic operators we call embodied cognition. Your neurology processes literally and subjectively the same way. In other words, let's think about something like heat. If I give you a warm drink to hold, right? You have something that's physically warm in your hands. As I'm talking to you, you will perceive me with more emotional warmth than if I give you a cold drink to hold. The study is called embodied cognition, and will teach you how to engineer that, how to make use of it in the real world, because there will be places where the languaging can't help you, but behaviors and environmental restructuring can. And so it's a full spectrum of influence. These are extra things in the Killer Influence Master Text. We'll talk about meta programs, which are special filters that human beings have, that if you understand how to change how you speak to fit that program, which by the way happens automatically in the echo technique, you'll automatically fit their neurological way of moving through the world. We'll teach you, there's even a special section for those of you who like more provocative stuff called DRTs. DRT stands for dirty, rotten tricks. These are kind of gray hat persuasion and influence tactics that at the very least you should be aware of so that you can protect yourself against them. But if there's a need to play a little bit of dirty pool with like maybe there's some narcissist or Machiavellian dude out there or girl out there who's kind of playing dirty pool, kind of bad mouthing you at the office or something like that, and you need to kind of turn the tides. These are some of the little tactics that if you want to, right, and it's appropriate to do it, you can turn the tables on them. So those are all in the Killer Influence Master Text that we're including in this Secrets of Ultra Persuasion home study course. So I just wanted to elaborate on that for you, as well as we also teach it obviously in our Killer Influence live trainings and live events. So I just wanted to elaborate on that for you so you understood really what's behind and the solid gold that is in the Killer Influence Master Text. So that's a $418 value. As you can see, it's well worth it. We're also going to give you access to a special online community with over 200 people in it. We'll talk about that in just a moment. If you were to try to go to the website today and buy this course, it would total around $2,497. But of course, we're not going to stop there. We've got a whole bunch more stuff going for you. So for those of you who want to take advantage of this today, I want you to go ahead and understand you're going to get these exclusive bonuses as well. We're going to really flesh this out. We're going to make this your one-stop shop for all of your influence and persuasion needs. And you could spend your whole life doing this. But if all you had was the echo technique and the emotional bonding checklist, you would be well ahead of all the competition. Okay. So we're going to include in this a special Weapons of Mass Instruction home study course. This is our scientific and seductive storytelling secrets. It's based on the neuroscience of story and narrative persuasion. One of the most powerful forms of influence in the world, it has really changed the course of the world, is known as is storytelling and metaphor, right? Everything in your mind, everything in your brain is in the form of a narrative. And when I was coming up through the ranks in NLP and hypnosis and things like that, I would constantly hear people talking about story this and story that and metaphor this and metaphor that. And every time I would buy a course on storytelling or how to, metaphors or whatever, I would get the same rehash stuff. It always left me feeling like there's no meat here. It's like the hero's journey again and again. And so I just, and after buying like my fourth or fifth course and coming away feeling like there was something was not there, something was missing, I realized that if I wanted to find a course that would teach me what I needed to know to be good at story out in the real world, I was going to have to create it. And so that's what I did. And I went to the neuroscience. I went to the corporate storytellers, the people, the sales storytellers. I looked at the neuroscience behind it, and I discovered that there are 5 categories of story, or 5 kinds of influence that you can deliver with a story. The first one is called stories of connection. These are short little vignettes that you can whip out in a line at Starbucks, that you can doing a line at a movie theater. If we ever get back to them, you can do it over a Zoom call. You can just whip out these little stories and create massive connection with people in just a few minutes. There's what we call alpha stories. Alpha stories are stories that are designed to persuade. They're designed to inspire and motivate. They're used in leadership. They're used in sales. They're used in rhetorical persuasion. These are things that have more persuasion push to them, right? But then there's another category of story, which I thought was one of the coolest categories since sliced bread. These are called omega stories. Omega stories are stories that eliminate resistance to persuasion. So think about the alpha versus omega. Alpha story, we have a big old filing cabinet, right? And I'm trying to push it, right? And I can't push it because it's too damn heavy. There's too much resistance, right? So what do? I go get a couple of guys to help me pick it up and carry it, or help me push it across the room. That's an alpha story. An omega story removes resistance to the persuasion, or to the resistance. So here's how it works, right? Let's say I got this big old filing cabinet, right? And I need to push it, but I don't have anybody to help me, right? So what do? I get some rollers, a dolly, or I get some oil. I put it on the floor. It removes the friction, and now I can push that load, that persuasion or influence load, by myself very, very easily. The nice thing about omega stories is that they resolve and dissolve resistance in the background without ever being perceived as an attempt at influencing people. Okay? And there are 6 elements that go into these stories that make them neurologically irresistible to the human being. In fact, just hearing that somebody's going to tell you a story triggers a process in your brain that causes the hemispheres of your brain to entrain with the mind of the storyteller. Just the hint of it. The more that story goes on and the more entrained you become, the more you start to predict what's going to happen next, till finally you're rushing ahead. That's massive, massive neurological rapport entrainment. And it's never perceived as an attempt at influence. Some of the most powerful persuaders on the planet, guys like Jerry Spence, he's undefeated in the legal world. All he does is tell stories, right? We will show you how to build these things, what to put in them, how to test them. We'll give you a checklist that you can actually present your story to people, and they can actually give you a rating of how powerful that story is based on these 6 criteria. So you can, if you do focus groups or you work with the legal profession or marketing or advertising, you can rate the power of your stories, right? And then there's one last module, and we call this ninja stories. Ninja stories, one of the aspects of story work that is so cool is that in addition to all the power that the story itself has, is that it also can serve as a delivery mechanism for other persuasion amplifiers. So if you come from an NLP or a neurolinguistic background, you can do embedded commands, you can do analog marking, you can do behavioral primes, you can do semantic primes, you can do quotes pattern, because all these things that you can build into a story that amplify its persuasion impact, but also give the unconscious mind instructions for what to do next. We call that module ninja stories. And in that module, we actually deconstruct transcripts of very famous speakers who are utilizing these NLP tactics when they present you, that get you rushing to the back of the stage to buy everything that they're selling, right, or offering you. We'll show you the embedded commands. We'll show you the confusion patterns. We'll show you the semantic and behavioral priming, and we'll teach it to you in such a way that you can do it and the fastest way to build your business is public speaking. One of the most powerful things you can do from a public speaking stage is tell stories. So we'll show you from soup to nuts how to connect and prime people and all points in between. We're giving this to you absolutely free as part of the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. Total value, if you were to buy it on the website, which I don't think you can right now, is $1,950. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Total value so far of what we've been talking about is $4,447 when you register for the package before the end of the webinar. Another course that we're going to give you is called the Renegade Reframing, how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. So let me ask you this question. What if anytime somebody had an objection to what you wanted them to do, tried to argue with you, or had a belief that was against whatever you wanted, what if you had at least 14 different ways to overcome or beat that objection? Would that be useful? If you could anticipate, if somebody said, I don't believe this, and you just whipped out one of these patterns and all of a sudden their belief crumbled and they bought into the belief you were espousing, would that be useful? Type yes if you think that's useful. We're going to teach you all 14 patterns. You see, 20, 30 years ago, Richard Bandler used to challenge his NLP students. Richard Bandler was one of the creative founders behind neurolinguistic programming. When he was teaching his students, he would say, try to reframe me. And he would challenge them to try and change or overcome his limiting belief using a meta model, something called the meta model, right? And he would use these 14 patterns to just decimate his students. Anytime they tried to attack him or make him believe a certain thing, he would whip out one of these patterns and their attack would just crumble. Now, one of Richard's students, Robert Dilts, realized that there was a structure to what Richard was doing, and he categorized what Richard was doing into 14 distinct ways of structuring your language to attack and overcome any belief, to reframe it from the inside, from the outside. And when you stack these things, it creates a very suggestible state in the minds of the person, and they just tend to buy in to whatever you're saying. It's very, very powerful. And if you do any kind of marketing or copywriting or anything like that, one of the things they teach you is that when you're writing sales copy, you should think about what possible objections your prospective customer or client may have and answer those objections before they get a chance to be asked. If you have these 14 patterns under your belt, that means anytime you can think up a potential objection or the client comes up with a potential objection, which, by the way, if you're using the emotional bonding checklist, 99% chance you won't get them. But if you screw it up and you need to recover, this is where you go, right? You have at least 14 different answers for anything somebody throws at you, right? For those of you who are getting attacked by narcissists, manipulators, things of that nature, these are your silver bullets. These are your magic bullets that allow you to just turn the tables on them, right? You can do this in a very loving, heart-centered way, or you can be very aggressive and combative with it and really draw your boundaries and rebuff these people. It goes either way. It's up to you and how you use it. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free as part of the Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course Training Package. It's a combined value of $6,397 when you register before the end of the webinar, okay? But we're not done yet, okay? We're not done yet. We're also going to throw in a special course. This is one of my favorite courses to teach. It's called Charisma on Command. Just by a show of hands, or actually not by show of hands, I'm sorry, by typing in the chat, how many of you are coaches or do any kind of public speaking or presenting or want to do it as a way to build your business? Just so I know. Because okay, here's what I tell all of my students, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart. I've proven it over and over and over again. The fastest, most cost-effective way to build your business is through public speaking, okay? Charisma on Command is all about the hypnotic approach to public speaking. Now, it is not a course on stage hypnosis at all. It is a course on how to leverage and deploy hypnotic technique from the stage for the purposes of teaching your audiences better, of inspiring them, of motivating them, and priming them to want to take the next level with you. If you want to be like guys like T. Harv Eker or Mark Victor Hansen or Lisa Sasevich or Robert Allen or Tony Robbins, that has people running, stampeding to the back of the auditorium to sign up for a consult or a course or whatever, this is the course you want. Because what I've discovered through trial and error and investing a lot of money is that a lot of these people do have courses on how to be speakers and trainers. And they will teach you things like how to create an offer, how to find your ideal client, how to create a press kit. These are all things that everybody teaches, right? And we teach you them too. But there's something they're holding back. And that is the system behind the system. the secret behavioral primes, the embedded commands, the spatial anchors, the nested loops, how they stack their stories, how they choose their stories, right? The sequence that they use these stories that prime people to behave a certain way. So if you heard me talking earlier about our storytelling secrets course, this is where they overlap, because in this module as well, we'll once again break down the structure of guys like T. Harv Eker. We'll show you all the things that they're doing that they're not teaching their trainers, so that you can decide if you want to use them, or at the very least, when you go to these high-level presenters, you at least recognize what's being done and you have more of a choice as to whether to let them affect you or not. We're going to give this to you. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Okay. Total value so far is $8,347 when you register before the end of the webinar. Okay. So let's just recap what we've got for you so far. The Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course. You're going to get the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol, in-depth modular training, video and manual. $2,779 value. You're going to get the Killer Influence Master Text with all the extra modules in addition to the chapters on this universal persuasion protocol, as well as the drills and skills that go with it. It's a $418 value. We're going to give you a 3-month access to our NLP Power Mastermind mentoring program, which we'll talk about in just a moment. We're going to give you the Weapons of Mass Instruction Neuroscientific Storytelling Secrets. It's recorded live. It comes with a full manual. And I think it's 10 or 15 or 20 videos, something like that. It was a very in-depth course. You'll get that. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get Renegade Reframing, Objection Obliteration, and the Art of Speed Conversational Belief Change, how to overcome any objection in seconds. It's a $1,950 value. And what's cool about this particular course, by the way, I didn't mention it earlier, it comes with a card game that you can play. It's called the reframe game. And so a person will establish, say, a belief or an objection. They'll throw down a card, and the person they throw the card at, just like in Uno, will have to use that card and that pattern to overcome the belief. And if they succeed, then they get to attack back, and they just go back and forth like a game of reframe war. It's a lot of fun, and it really drives these patterns in so that they become very, very instinctive and responsive to you. People have a lot of fun with that. It's included as part of this training program. You just cut it out, or print it out, cut it up, and you're good to go. And finally, we're going to throw the Charisma on Command Hypnotic Presentation Skills for Public Speakers and Presenters. It's a $1,950 value. Total value of this package, if you were to go to the website today and buy it, which you can't because most of these products are not available to the public just yet, is $8,347. But to quote the late, great Ron Popeil, today I'd like to give you the best deal humanly possible. There is more. So for today, you won't have to pay $8,347. Not at all. Nope. We're not even going to charge you $6,347. We're not going to charge you $5,347. We're not going to charge you $3,347. We're not going to charge you $2,347. In fact, for every single thing we talked about today, the 17 video universal persuasion protocol, all the modules, the Killer Influence home study course and master text, $2,497 value, the neuroscientific storytelling secrets, $1,950 value, the Renegade Reframing out of conversational belief change, $1,950 value, and Charisma on Command. You get it all for one-time investment of just $997. That's it. One installment, $997, gets you every single thing, all the information I talked about. You start from the basics and you move to the advanced level. You can go from Persuasion 0 to Persuasion Hero in a couple of short weeks. Now, remember something. These courses are awesome. They work. But if you don't use the techniques, if you don't do the drills, you ain't going to get the skills. So only invest in this program if you're committed to not just learning, but doing. And for those of you who need a little help, we can also break that down into 3 easy installments of just $397. And you can start downloading and going through this material today. So if you want to get started now, people were already asking, but you can go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/GO. If you need a payment plan, reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663. I think you can also do a payment plan through that page, 858-282-4663. If you need to talk to Stephanie, give her a call. If the line is busy, if you leave your name and phone number, you will qualify for all the bonuses, even if it takes us a little while to get back to you. If you don't pick up, if she doesn't pick up right away, keep calling, okay? And because if you don't leave your name, you don't leave your number, then this offer expires when I log off the webinar today. So if you want to be sure to get included in any of the bonuses and any of the benefits, please, 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 I would hate to see you miss out on this. Please, 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 if you don't get through to Stephanie right away, leave your name, leave your phone number, okay? Yeah. So yeah, all you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, and you're good to go. I'm going to put that in the YouTube chat room just one more time, just to make sure I got it right. Okay. For those of you who may be on the fence, I just want you to know, you don't got to believe anything I've told you so far. Get the course, try it for 90 days. If after 90 days, you're not making more money, closing more deals, meeting more people, creating more connections, moving your life towards the life you want, the way you want it, if you're not feeling more secure and confident in your ability and willingness to interact with people and winning social encounters and becoming that charisma magnet we talked about, I'll refund every cent. Give it a full 90 days. If it doesn't do what I say it's going to do, pick up the phone, give Stephanie a call. We will refund your money, and we will allow you to keep the course for yourself as our gift of saying, hey, thanks for giving us a shot. Now, please don't be one of those hit and run people who buy it and then immediately return it after they get access to the course. We know who you are. We do track you, right? But if you legitimately, and please, in that 90 days, if you're having a sticking point, recall us, reach out. We handle this all the time. People come out, call with questions and get 99% of their questions answered in a way that gets them back on track after that one phone call. So, but if after 90 days of putting this stuff to the test, it's not delivering the results you want, let Stephanie know, and we will happily and regretfully refund your money, and we'll let you keep the courses, okay? I'm looking for ethical people here because this stuff in unethical hands, this stuff can be dangerous, right? So I like to think I train the good guys, right? Or good girls, as it is, okay? So all you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. And we will get you started just as fast as humanly possible. Now, lest you think I'm done, if what I told you wasn't already amazing enough, for the next 15 people only who grabbed your course before March 9th, 2021, I'm going to give you some very special fast action bonuses. And here's what you're also going to get. This is only for the next 15 people. Now, if you've already ordered your course, you qualify as one of the first 15, okay? Because you were the fast action takers, you get all the goodies, all right? So first thing we're going to include, we talked about this earlier, is we're going to give you a free 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Group Practice Archive. Now, let me explain what this is for you. This is not a certification track. What we do, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is the longest running hands-on NLP practice group in the world. It's been running continuously nonstop since 2010. We meet on the third Saturday of every month. On the third Saturday of every month, we get together either physically in person or virtually. Since COVID, it's been virtually, but we will be going back to live events as soon as everybody's vaccinated and we can go back out. And I literally go around the room and I say, Teresa, what do you want to learn? Bernie, what do you want to learn? Seth, what do you want to learn? Stephanie, what do you want to learn? And I literally write down on my board what it is they want to learn. When everybody's done, I look at what's on the board. I create a lesson plan on the spot where they all connect and intersect. And for the next 4 hours, I drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep, right? Some of you are in our diamond level program, some of you in our platinum programs, right? And you've been able to participate in some of those virtual trainings. They are awesome. They are not going to give you a certificate. They are designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to spot check, pressure test, and troubleshoot your persuasion skills. So you come in, you have a problem, you got to fix, something's messing you up, you let us know what it is, we build that into the lesson plan, and we drill you on those skills for the next 4 hours, sometimes up to 8 hours, until you can do them in your sleep. You go out into the world, you apply your techniques, you come back on the 3rd Saturday of next month. What do you want to learn? And then we just build on that, right? So you aren't going to get a certificate from the Mastermind, but you are going to get a skill set, right? And that's what it's for. It's only for people who want to be with people who are cool people who like to do cool stuff, to actually roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills. You do not need any experience to participate. We don't care if you've been in hypnosis 20 years or 20 minutes. All we care about is that you have a good attitude, a sincere desire to do the drills and get the skills, and have fun, right? Because that's what it's about. If you're not being effective and you're not having fun, you might as well not fucking do it. That's just how I look at it, okay? So we're gonna give you a 3-month trial membership, but it gets better than that, okay? You can try it out for 3 months. If you like it, stay. If you don't, leave. But for the last 10 years, going on 11 years now, since 2010, we have been videotaping every single one of those Mastermind mentoring sessions, and we've archived them in 3 places. We've archived them on the NLP Power website, we've archived them in our live private Facebook group, and we've archived the newer ones on our YouTube platform. And so not only will you get 3 months of unlimited access to us personally, we will give you complete access to the entire 10-year archive. If there's something you want to know the answer to, it's probably somewhere in those archives. And we cover everything from energy healing to trauma resolution, to how to write better copy, to how to memorize better, learn faster, instant and rapid induction, hypnotic language patterns, neurolinguistic programming, color psychology, holograph, you name it. If it has something to do with mind and body empowerment, it's in there, right? I will warn you up front that because every month it was, what do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? There's no real organization other than the content at the beginning of each video for that day. But if you want to binge watch hundreds of hours of never released content on the full spectrum of human influence, from self-work to other people work to transpersonal work, that is worth its weight in gold. It truly is. I'm very proud of that archive. And most of it has never been released on YouTube or any other format. Okay, so that you're going to get a 3-month trial. If you like it, stay. If you don't, hey, you got a great ride. You got to work out and meet some really cool people who like to do the same cool stuff you do, and that's what it's about, right? Apologize if my my microphone is bumping into my desk there and kind of screwing things up. Yours free, right? When you're one of the next 15 people to register for the training, and all you got to do that is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. But there's more. For those of you who really want to get started today, we're going to include the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. This is a $997 value. It's a distillation from the Killer Influence and CPI systems. It goes into the 7 most powerful language patterns on the planet. It will teach you instant and rapid hypnotic inductions, lie detection. It will also teach you, there's some special modules in there on a language boot camp that I was doing back when I was teaching for the sleepwalkers. There's also courses on anchoring, as well as criterion values or emotional bonding checklist in that course. It's a $997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free if you're one of the next 15 people to register for the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. Total combined value, if you could go to the website today and buy it, which you can't, it's only available through this webinar, is $9,938. But of course, you're not going to pay that. Now, some of you are already asking about this. Now, remember, you at the beginning of our training, I said, if you had a choice between buying a video or going to a live event, which one would be the best bang for your buck? And I said live events. Here's what I'm doing. Even though COVID made pretty much every location on the planet inhospitable and inaccessible to live events, we have been doing live events every single month since the lockdown started. We've been doing them in Las Vegas for a little bit smaller crowds, more intimate settings, but we're still doing them. For those of you who are one of the next 15 people to take advantage of the Killer Influence Secrets of Ultra Persuasion home study course, we are going to issue you a free VIP super ticket. This will give you free admission to any single live event of your choice. Some restrictions do apply in our 2021-2022 calendar. Okay, so let me explain a little bit about how the VIP ticket works. I'm going to pop. Do you guys want me to pop back to face-to-face mode, or you guys want me to keep the slide panel up? Just type in which one you would prefer. Okay. All right, well, I'll just go ahead and explain this then. So the way the VIP ticket works is that as long as you have the prerequisites to a class, and most of our courses do not have prerequisites. Let's say you want to come to our Killer Influence training next week, which is March 17th through the 20th. You decide you want to go. All you do is you pick up the phone, you call Stephanie, you let her know, and she will put you at the head of the list. If something comes up at the last minute, let's say you're getting ready to go to Killer Influence next week on March 17th, and all of a sudden your boss makes you work, the lockdowns get worse and you can't travel. All you do is you pick up the phone, you give Stephanie a call, we will move you to another training that you can get to. You do not lose your ticket. Okay. Let's say at the last minute, you get the time off from work and you want to come to a training. All you do is pick up the phone. You let Stephanie know, we'll find you a seat, even if it's sold out. Okay. You have that ticket. It does not expire until you use it. So if you get this ticket today as part of your package, and it takes you 2 years, 3 years to come to a live event, it's still good. You can just pick up the phone, let Stephanie know. We will move you to the head of the class, even if it's sold out. Okay. The only restriction is if there's a class that you want to come to that has a prerequisite. Let's say you want to come to our NLP certification. Well, to become certified in NLP through my program, you must be an awesome hypnotist first. So you have to have gone through Identity by Design or CPI or Killer Influence first before we'll let you into an NLP class. We prefer Identity by Design, right? But let's say you want to come to Vibrational Influence, which requires Killer Influence as a prerequisite, right? We will ask you to take those courses first before coming to those classes. But with very few exceptions, that VIP ticket is good for pretty much any training on our calendar. And if we add a training, those trainings are included as well. So you have it until you use it. If something comes up at the last minute, you just move to another training. If you want to come to a training at the last minute, we'll find a spot for you. The price point of the seminar doesn't matter anymore. If you're, let's say you're one of our European crowd and you're off, we're doing everything in British pounds sterling or euros, right? And we're doing 1,950 euros or 2,250 euros at the door. If you have one of our special VIP tickets, you just walk right in. Doesn't matter what the price of the seminar is, you get to come free. So if you have a friend that you would like to introduce or bring along to a training, you can gift that ticket to them and they can get it and they can make use of it. Okay, it's a $1,950 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free as a way to round out your training, as a way for you to get the biggest bang for your buck and to let you experience the difference between learning on video and getting it live. And you get the best of both worlds, because once you learn this live and you go back and you review those videos, you're going to see and hear and understand things way different than the first time you viewed them. And that's what's cool. It's because you'll come back to those videos with a higher sense of understanding and ability to do them. Total value for this package is $11,888. All you've got to do to take advantage of this and get that free VI ticket is be one of the next 15 people. Total value is $11,888 to grab this amazing package, right? Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course, $2,079 value. Killer Influence Master Test, $418 value. We're going to give it to you free. Weapons of Mass Instruction, Storytelling Secrets Home Study Course, free, $1,950 value. Weapons of Mass Instruction, Objection Obliteration, $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Charisma and Conversion. This is the hypnotic persuasion skills for presenters and public speakers, $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. 3 months of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, $594 value, actually a lot more. We're going to give it to you free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997, absolutely free. And finally, the cherry on the sundae, that VIP super ticket, you get your choice of any single live event in our 2021-2022 calendar. And if it takes you longer to get to a live event, that ticket is good until you use it. It's a $1,950 value. It could be up to a $2,250 value, depending on which course you choose and when you choose it. We're going to give it to you absolutely free if you're one of the next 15 people to register for this package. Total value, one load installment of $997, or you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to get it is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, www.killerinfluence.com/go, and you'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay. Anybody have any questions about anything I've talked about? We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to continue to teach. I told you I would continue to teach afterwards. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Brandon or you can reach out to Stephanie at nlppower.com. I'll put that in the chat, 858-282-4663, or Stephanie at nlppower.com. Okay. We're going to take a let's take a 7-minute bathroom break. When we come back, I will answer whatever questions you have, and we will go deeper into some of your biggest sticking points or questions and do some demos about the things we covered at the beginning of the webinar. Does that sound like a plan? Are we good with that? Type yes if you're good with that. Cool. All right. So it is 5:50 now by my clock. Let's come back at 5:57, and we will continue to teach until you're tired of me. All right. We'll talk to you in a minute. And for those of you, while we're on our break, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to do any Q&A while we're waiting for the break to be over. We got about 3 minutes. Do you only do live shows in Las Vegas? Actually, we are working very, very hard on doing some events in Florida, and now that Texas has opened up, we're considering Texas as well. Actually, one of my good friends, Chase Hughes, has asked if we could team up to do an event in Florida. We're probably going to do that sometime in September, but we're still in the planning phases of that. Brenna Mulsbury asked, did you use this stuff with your wife? Yes, I do both. What's is funny because my wife knew what I was doing because I taught her. But yeah, she's fully trained in this stuff. I should come to Atlanta. I was just in Virginia back in December. We would go to Atlanta if there was a big enough following, a big enough demand for it. Sam Gallenberger asked, are there any live events May 25th through May 30th? Stephanie, do we have anything planned May 25th through May 30th? Kate Dayachenko says, I use it on my husband and I do my best to teach him to use it too. Honestly, understanding how to use the things in this webinar will only make your life better if you use them with your partner. Now, granted, you shouldn't use it to take advantage of your partner, but you can use it to really lubricate and deepen the relationship and the level of understanding and connection that you have. I think these skills should be taught in high school, honestly, because if we had these skills in high school or even grade school, the relationships that we could create and the lives we could have are, it's really a game changer. It's a total game changer. I can't even begin to imagine how good things would be as a byproduct of this training, right? EGR NHL says, how do you offer something to the other person? I feel I have little to offer. The first thing to understand is you have to set context. What do they want in that context? And then talk about it. Talk about it the way they do. And then find the aspects of yourself or what you do that directly satisfies that. If there's no fit, send them somewhere else. But if there is a fit, use their words to describe the aspect of yourself that satisfies it, and they'll want to spend more time with you. GM asks, are there any techniques to reduce or completely relieve pain associated with lab tests, hospital tests, or vaccinations? Yes, 100%. Go to my YouTube channel, type in instant emergency pain relief, and you will find an hour or a 90-minute video on exactly what to do and how to do it. Okay. So Seth Breitbart says CPI-4 is an unspecified date in May. That's the only class scheduled for that month so far. So what it looks like, Sam, is that there will be a training in May. We have not set the dates, but if we do, it will be a CPI-4, which is hypnotic presentation skills. If you want to get into CPI-4, you have to have completed Killer Influence 4-day boot camp or CPI level 1 boot camp. Fortunately for you, there's a 4-day Killer Influence training that starts March 17th in Las Vegas. If you want to take advantage of that, you can absolutely qualify for CPI-4 in May. Matthew has, hold on a second, there's some other questions coming in here. Let me go ahead and let me just start answering some questions really quick. Oh, we're a minute over. David, is ketamine a valid choice for trauma resolution, or do you suggest a course? I don't know what you're using ketamine for. As far as I know, it's not often used for trauma. So I don't know that I could recommend either one. I recommend if you got trauma that you want to resolve, that you seek out a qualified therapist, either someone trained in hypnotherapy, someone trained in neurolinguistic programming, a psychotherapist, things of that nature. If you're interested in the use of drugs, you should probably check in with a psychiatrist or a medical doctor to see what's going to be Veteran Affairs is using off-label, okay? Ketamine can make you extremely suggestible. So it could be leveraged hypnotically, but I'm going to stick with check with your physician, right? Will Jones is asking, can you talk about the 3 types of verbal communication? Will, can you elaborate on what you mean by the 3 types of verbal communication? If you can clarify what you're saying, I could happily talk about it. Let's see here. So why do you do this to me is asking, can you teach us how to self-hypnotize to maximize our specific learning of what you talk about and show us? Yes, I can. That's not the focus of today's webinar, but if you go to the YouTube channel and you look up a video I published last month, I guide people through a self-hypnosis process that you can use to give yourself suggestions and things like that. It has a picture of me as a picture of pirates in the background. That will teach you exactly what you need to know. EGR says, does this work when introducing yourself at conferences? It works everywhere. It works anytime language is involved. And if you have the killer influence training, you can do things that don't require language. The entire CPI system is about linguistics. So if you're talking to people in writing or verbally, this will work. Hold on a second. What kind of precise method to prime the mind to fully absorb what you teach specifically? There's a bunch of them. Does square breathing work for anxiety? GM said it works for about 50% of the people. About 50% of the people who do square breathing get a decrease in their level of anxiety. About 50% of the people who do square breathing actually increases their anxiety. So you would have to test it. Buffer Monster says, what kind of exercises can I use if stressed or in a freeze mode in a conversation or stressful situation? Change your posture, change your breathing, move your eyes laterally to the left and to the right multiple times. That will stimulate, that will move your brain out of reptile freeze mode, and you'll be able to respond more assertively. Barbara says, I got angry when reading aloud my answers. Now what? Now we need to unpack whether your emotional triggers were towards or away from, and why there's a part of you that wants something different or gets angry about it. Okay, there's probably some trauma that needs to be unpacked there, Barbara. Bridge, pray to God. Buffer Monster says, how do I prevent getting frozen when frustrated or not expecting a question or comment? Same thing, change your posture, change your breathing, look immediately to your right, immediately to your left, 6 or 7 times. That will shake you out of fight or flight mode, and you'll be able to respond more powerfully. People are saying, my camera's not on. Well, okay, fine. I'll put my camera on. Is that better? Right? I was just showing the package, but yeah, we can do that. Okay. Are these answers useful? Are they helping? Okay, cool. Kate Clausen says, ketamine is a dissociative drug. It paralyzes the body, but you can still hear your surroundings, but cannot react. Depending on the dose, we use it in animals for surgery. Yeah, I think if you're using it as a hypnagogue, in other words, if you're using it as a way to bypass the critical faculty, it could be useful depending on what modalities you're using it with. But my gut response is to stay away from drugs to deal with trauma. That's a slippery slope at best. Nolan Richards says, what exercises could you use to practice the things you've taught today? Control your state control exercises. In fact, we're going to do the emotional bonding drill next, so you guys will have the actual technique. Joe Gagny says, my girlfriend is about to lose her dad to cancer. She already deals with depression, anxiety. She doesn't believe in any type of therapy, nor does she have a belief system. Is there anything I can do? Yes, you can use reframes from like the objection obliteration course. You can use story and metaphor to remove resistance to her persuasion. You can use the resistance removal recipe to make her more open to doing something she just said she didn't want to do. And for you, I think I would start with, and again, it really depends on what your skill set is. I assume you have no skill sets. So I would start with the resistance removal protocol to get her to generate a reason for doing what she just said she didn't want to do. If I had other skill sets, like I knew how to tell stories, I would tell stories about people who had similar processes, similar experiences, made different decisions, and wound up coming out better for it. Okay. Stories, like I said, when they're deployed properly, stories are never perceived as a direct attempt at persuading and influencing people. It changes people's ideas in the background. It's very, very powerful. But there's an art and a science to it. And so if you have skill sets like CPI-1 or Killer Influence, I would say go right into storytelling and metaphor and change it that way, and then hit them either before or after with the resistance removal protocol, which we can cover in this training if people want, but we have done several trainings on it already, and I would recommend you reference those. That's where I would go, to be honest. And then seek out somebody who she trusts as a therapist and have her pick the therapist. Let's see here. Does the double breathing work with slower exhale for anxiety? I don't know what double breathing is. Okay. Bridge E says, I was in this fight and flight mode when I mysteriously bumped into an ex last week. Okay. Change your posture, change your breathing, create space physically between you and them. Look to the left and right multiple times. It'll shake your neurology out of fight or flight mode. GM says, what are the best power poses? What do you suggest for best staying present in conversations when working on or improving reading people and using the techniques? The best power poses, I think, are the ones that allow you to be the most comfortable. I like the victory pose a lot. We use it a lot in our trainings, but a lot of people have shoulder issues. And so they tend to do the Wonder Woman pose, which works really, really well. Okay. Kate's asking, is burst breathing good for getting out of fight or flight mode in general? Yes. Yeah. Anything with breath work will get you out of fight or flight. Breath work and posture are the fastest ways to change the adrenaline dump in your body and the parts of your brain that you're working from. How do you know if stories are appropriate to the situation? It's almost impossible for a story to be inappropriate as long as it's contextually relevant and the person in the story can relate to the protagonist in the story. So if you're going to tell a story about somebody who had a parent or a loved one dying of cancer or died of cancer, make sure the protagonist is as close as possible to the person you're talking to. So if you're talking to a female in her 30s, talk about a friend of yours who was, you met in your 30s or who was 36 or 37 or whatever, because the more you can get the person listening to identify with the hero of the story, the protagonist of the story, the more it will bypass their critical faculty and they'll just associate into it and live vicariously the experience that you're describing. Okay. Male MDFK, how to become more subtle in echo techniques so that you don't get caught. We can talk about that actually. Are there power poses? Oh, we talked about that already. There's a ton of questions. Okay, excellent. So based on everything that people are asking about, what do you want to do next? We can talk about ways to hide the echo technique. We can talk about the resistance removal protocol that I just mentioned. We can go deeper into the emotional bonding checklist if you want to. What do you guys want to focus on today? Is the card game available a la carte? No, it is not. It is only available as part of the Objection Mastery home study course. Great question, though. People have asked me to make it available. Emotional checklist, okay. Kate says, I get concerned I'll get caught if I make the character in the story match the person I'm trying to influence too closely. Then make something else match. Make the situation. But really, most people won't. They won't catch you, So that reminds me of my friend Lois. Lois was about your age, and her mom, make them, instead of a dad, make it a mom, right? Changing the story a little bit that it comes across as a different story, but enough that they can identify with it, okay? You can still get a high degree of transportation is the technical term. You can still get a high degree of transportation by telling a story that a person that is not an exact fit, but the more elements you can build into that story that match that person's life, the more rapidly they're going to turn off their critical faculty and live vicariously the experience you're describing. And that's what changes them, by the way. It's called the Thorndike effect. When you tell a story and you tell it well, their brain goes in, like I said before, their brain starts to go into entrainment mode with you, and they will start living the experience you're describing as if it's happening to them, okay? Tony says, will you be sending out a I'm assuming you say recording, Zoom meeting. I've only just been able to join now. Yes, there will be a replay available. Some of the bonuses that we talked about earlier on will not be available if you're learning from the, or if you're getting this on a replay. But yeah, you can get the information for sure. I wouldn't worry about being too overt, Kate, because if you're telling a good story, you'll suck them in, right? The only time you'll get caught is if you're worried about getting caught, okay? Don't believe me, just play with it, right? You can even and I know you haven't had like CPI 4 or CPI 2 where we talk about the Fantastic Four. There's a thing in CPI 2 and CPI 4, which is the weapons of mass instruction and the charisma and conversion, we call quotes pattern. A quotes pattern is a way of creating emotional distance between you and the subject of the story. So you don't have to talk about your friend. You could talk about your friend who had a friend who was talking about this, that, and the other thing. And the more you start quoting other people, the more you start changing perspective and adding layers of emotional distance from the story. They'll still be sucked into it, but they won't connect it quite as directly that you're making it up directed to directly influence them. You'll be talking about somebody else's experience based on somebody else, what somebody told you. So that's quotes patterns. You'll learn about that in CPI 2. You'll learn about that in CPI 4, which is Weapons of Mass Instruction, which is the storytelling course, as well as the Charisma and Conversion course. Well, it is the way Erickson spoke. The problem is that most of the people who teach the way Erickson spoke didn't teach what Erickson was doing. You know, they didn't teach you how he did what he did, right? And so it's very important that we understand the mechanics of what's going on, right? I studied guys like David Gordon. I studied guys like Harlan Kilstein, who actually wrote his doctoral dissertation on story work. And even they kind of glossed over some really important aspects of why story is powerful, how it works, and how to build these things. Which is the problem: is you got to know how to construct these things from the ground up. They did, yeah, exactly. And that's what again, like I said, I was so frustrated with the story courses I was taking that I realized that nobody was doing what needed to be done from my perspective. And so I created the course I would have wanted to take. And that's pretty much the truth about every single thing I've talked to you about today. I didn't invent any of this stuff for you guys. I invented it for me because I had problems I wanted to solve. I had things I wanted, and I was frustrated with how much shit was being taught around these, one or two gold nuggets of pure actionable information. And so I just started collecting nuggets until I had enough to create something that was systematic for me. And turns out a lot of people had the same problem. If you ever come out of an NLP course or hypnosis course saying, oh, that was cool, how do I use it? Or everybody knows more than me, or there's something missing. Welcome to the world, Thank you, Kate. Anyway, so you guys want to talk about the emotional bonding checklist a little bit more? Would that be cool? Is that where you guys want to go? Okay. Hold on a second here. I see one more question. I'll see one more question in the YouTube channel, and then I'll go back to teaching. Okay, there's some kind of weird legal discussion going on here. Anyway, all right. So let's get back to the emotional bonding checklist, and I'll actually do a quick demo for you into how that works. Okay, but let's look at this from a structural standpoint. Let me give you a template to follow. So when we start looking at the emotional bonding checklist, when we start deploying this in the field, we're going to use a couple of things. We're going to talk about the master echo sequence. The master echo sequence, let me make this bigger for you, goes like this. Echo, validate, echo, ask again, pay attention. So write this down. If you haven't written this down, if you haven't picked this up from other trainings that we've done, this is how you organically, conversationally employ the echo technique in any situation or circumstance, whether you're doing 3 magic questions protocol, which generates attraction, trust, and liking in any stranger you meet, whether you're using this in the emotional bonding checklist process, which we're going to dive deeply into. This is the sequence that you use. Okay, you ask your, so when we talk about the emotional bonding checklist, someone comes to you, let's say they want to buy a house, right? So the context is buy a house, right? So the first thing we're going to ask is, what's important to you about the perfect house? Okay. What's important to you about the perfect house, right? This is where you start to drill down on that checklist we talked about. You say, how do you know when a house is perfect? And I'm asking here is, what does it have? Right? That's in essence what that question is about. What are the elements, or what are the criteria? Let's say attributes. Okay. So you're going to ask, again, it starts with the context. You ask them, so I'm curious, just so I understand you better. We call that a softener. We'll talk about softeners after we get the core part down. So we have a softener, which is a reason why we're going to ask them the question we're about to ask them. Okay. So I'm curious, just so I understand you better, what's important to you about the perfect house? If you could imagine your perfect house, what is it like? What does it absolutely have to be perfect for you? And they're going to give you a list of attributes. When I type it out, it looks a whole lot more complicated than it actually is. They're going to give you a list of attributes that go directly to the perfect house for them. Okay. What are you going to do? The moment they give you that list of attributes, so let's say they have, attribute 1 is big kitchen, right? Lots of bathrooms, right? Big backyard, right? So they've just given you this list of stuff, right? Let me just change the color here. What are you going to do? You're going to echo it. So it might sound something like this. Let me just role play this for you real quick. So, Mr. Prospect, when you think about the perfect house for you, if you can envision it, right? Because my job as your realtor is to find you a home, the home that is the perfect fit for what you need and want, that will make you the happiest person on the planet, for your family, for yourself. So when you imagine that perfect home, what does it have? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel, right? What is that perfect house? And then Mr. Prospect might say, well, when I think about my house, there are 3 things that always came up for me. One was that it had this big kitchen, right? Big kitchen. I want a house with a big kitchen, and I want a big backyard, and I want lots of bathrooms. Lots of bathrooms, okay? And you would say, as the realtor, oh, so you want a big backyard, big kitchen, lots of bathrooms. So I'm curious. Big kitchen. Sounds like there's a story there. what's important to you? Just so I understand you better. What's important to you about having a big kitchen? He goes, well, look, growing up, I had a big family. Mom was always cooking, and we had this big kitchen. And every night, we'd have a big family. The entire family would come together. Holidays, everybody would be gathered around the kitchen table, eating and joking and playing. It was just the kitchen was the place where everybody got to connect and see people you loved and share things. And to me, the kitchen has always been the heart of our family. And I think it's important. I want to continue that tradition. I want my family to experience what I experienced growing up. Oh, I see. So when you were growing up, the kitchen was the heart of the family. It was where everybody got together, eating, having a good time, connecting. And you really want to pass that experience on to your family. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So curious, just so I understand you better. Lots of bathrooms? What's going on with that? Look, I got a big family, right? When you got a big family and you got 2 bathrooms, there's a wait, and I don't want to wait. You know, when you got to go, you got to go. You know what I'm saying? When you got people got to leave in the morning and you got to wait for a shower or a bathroom, you know, to you, it's a problem. So a lot of bathrooms, got to have big family, big kitchen, a lot of bathrooms. Oh, I see. So when you get up in the morning, you don't want to have to wait for the toilet or take a shower to do whatever. When you got to go, right? Absolutely. All right. Big bathrooms it is, right? So big backyard, what's behind that? Just so, again, I know it sounds weird, but as your realtor, my job is to make you happy. And I need to make sure that I know how to give you what you want. So just so I understand, big backyard, what's behind that? What's that going to do for you? Well, big family, going to have a lot of kids, got to have a lot of grandkids, right? And I intend to hold on to this house for a long time. I expect to have lots of people playing and things like that. And I like to do things in the backyard. I like to have people over. I like to party. I like to connect with people. And I want a place for my kids to be safe and my grandkids to be safe. Oh, well, obviously, big backyard, you're going to have a big family. Lots of kids. You want kids to be safe in the backyard. I get that. You're going to entertain a lot of people, connect with people. Totally get that. I think I know exactly the house or set of houses for you. I've got at least 4 houses right now that have huge kitchens, lots of bathrooms, and big backyards so that your family can come together and the children can play safely. You're going to have lots of bathrooms so there won't be any waiting, or at least minimal waiting for you. And finally, you're going to have that big kitchen so that your family can get together and create that heart of the family, that heart of connection for everybody. I got 4 properties right off the top of my head that I think would be perfect for you. How soon would you like to go and check those out? Can we go now? Right? Okay. What did you notice from that role play? Type it in the chat. It will seem obvious to you because you are not experiencing it, Brenna. That's one of the big things that freaks people out, is that the person you're doing it to won't realize it. I need to be a real estate dealer. Right? I'll tell you, how many of you have ever heard my Israel story? Just, if you have, I did, right? If you go back, once again, and you won't be able to do this right now because we're on a live video. But when you go back on the replay, pay attention to this. How many times did I do this? I asked them a question. They said something, I repeated it back. I agreed with them. I validated what they said. I repeated it, and then I asked them another question. Usually I echoed them while I was asking in the form of the question, right? And I paid attention to the responses, right? Let me look at my YouTube people. How many of you on my YouTube channel have ever heard my Israel story, my Echo Israel story? Okay. Would you like to hear it again? Type yes if you want to hear it. If not, I'll just move on. Okay. YouTubers are saying, I've heard it too many times. The people in the okay. So back in 2012, I was invited by Essence Security to come and work with their VPs, their marketing people, and their R&D people, because they were having breakdowns in communication. And so I don't know if you've ever worked with Israelis. First of all, let me just say I love them to death. They are some of the warmest, most giving, loving people that I have ever met, but they are one of the toughest audiences I've ever had. They question everything, right? And they pride themselves on being very egalitarian. Like we asked them, who's kind of the ringleader of your group? And they say, we have no ringleader. We are all equal. And then they all looked at this one guy for what to do next, right? And every time they came in, it was like this battle of wills to get them to do what I needed them to do to get the most out of the program. So they would all come in as a group, and we'd have 5 rows of chairs. They would sit in the last 3 rows. And I said, well, would you all please move to the front of the room? And they'd all look at me. And nothing I said would get them to move because they didn't want to be up front. I said, well, just for the record, I always call on the people in the back row first. They got up as a unit and moved to the front of the room. And every day from that moment forward, it was like a game of, it was like a game of chess to figure out how to get these people to the front of the room. Second day they came in, they didn't fall for that, right? And so I just had an assistant remove the first 2 rows, so they were now in the first row. But one day, I'm doing a module on the echo technique for a lot of the R&D people. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked with people in R&D. They're professional smart guys. They have multiple PhDs. Their idea of customer service is read the menu, right? Which was one of the big breakdowns with the customer service department and the marketing department and the R&D people is the R&D people, the customer service people would go to these R&D people with these problems, and the R&D people would say, well, read the fucking manual. Don't be stupid, read the manual. Well, if you've ever read a technical manual, it's not the easiest thing in the world to read, especially if it's written by smart people, right? So there were some things we had to work on. But I'm on stage, little stage, wasn't very big. I don't even know if it was a stage now that I think about it. But there was this one guy, I'm talking about the echo technique and how the most powerful words any human being can hear are the words that just came out of their mouth, right? And he's looking at me. And you know that face people make when they smell something bad and it's just getting worse? So he started like this, and finally he just can't seem to take it anymore. He looks at me and he goes, I don't believe it. And I kind of had to think fast on my feet. You don't believe it. I don't believe it. And as you might have guessed, everything that came out of his mouth, I acknowledged it, I echoed it back and asked another question. And for the next 5 minutes, all I did was give him his very own words back to him. And he's sitting there going off about how this couldn't possibly work for 5, 6, 7 minutes. All of his peers, all of his friends and colleagues around him looking at him like, because they can see it. They can see what I'm doing. Why? Because they're not in it. But when it's directed at the person, it's a perfect fit. They don't want to give it up. So he's going off, right? And I let him kind of hoist himself on his own petard for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. And then, because I knew this was going to be a very volatile situation if I wasn't careful, with as much humility and as much softness in my voice as I could, I said, sir, have you realized yet that all I've been doing for the last 5, 6, 7 minutes is giving you back your very own words? And he looked at me. And he looked at his friend. And his friend went. And he looked at his other friend. And his friend went. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen like the old Bugs Bunny cartoons with Yosemite Sam, where he gets really pissed off or he drinks too much hot sauce and you can see like the red rising on a thermometer. And when it reaches about eye level, just, right? That was this guy. He turned beet red. And then he got this defeated look on his face. And he looked at me and he said, are we really so stupid? And I looked at him, because I had to be careful here. I looked at him, I said, sir, you're not stupid. You're selfish, right? And that, of course, opened the dialogue, because every neurology on the planet, my friends, is selfish. It's moving through the world looking for itself. Your soulmate, that person that completes you, is you. That's what it is. It's a person who matches you so perfectly that being with them is like, it's just, they know exactly what to say because they're thinking the same things you're thinking. They know exactly how to do it because they do it exactly the way that you do it. That's what we're looking for. And when you give somebody that experience, because it is such a rare experience, on the level we're talking about, neurologically, biochemically, electrically, it is such a rare experience for human beings that when you give it to them, their entire neurology orients on you and does not want to let go. It wants to hold on to that feeling. It wants to hold on to that experience, and it wants to hold on to the person who embodies that experience. And so just doing the echo technique will do that. Using their words to describe your own experiences, using their words to tap into their emotional bonding checklist only makes it stronger. Only makes it stronger. Okay? Now, because it's so powerful, it has the potential for misuse. So be very, very aware that when you're going through this checklist process and if you realize that what they need you can't supply, point them in a different direction. That will only help you in the long run, because they will be so impressed by your integrity that they will refer people to you because they had such an amazing experience with you. They will look for an excuse to work with you in the future or to be with you in the future, because people will forget what you tell them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And once you give them this experience, they will move heaven and earth to get it again or to hold on to it. And that, my friends, is power. It's leverage in the real world. But remember that when you're doing echo technique, when you're doing emotional bonding checklist, when you're doing all of these things, it's targeted to a specific individual or a group of individuals. Like when I was talking to you earlier about all the things that you wanted to get from this training and what's emotionally important about that, and how by following the instructions and taking these materials out into the world and using them, you can get everything you want. Right? The moment your emotion is connected to these techniques, the more likely you are to take action and use them and do whatever it takes to get more. Right? So I gave you the experience of what you're doing by having you do it to yourself. So you could feel that biochemical electrical change. Now we transition using this context to doing it with others. And I modeled it for you, but just to kind of go through the nuts and bolts of it, before I go through the nuts and bolts of it, let me just review the special offer so people can kind of decide for themselves if they want to take it further or how far they want to take it, I guess is a better way to say it. So let's again, the total Secrets of Human Influence package is the Secrets of Human Influence home study course valued at $2,079. It includes the Secrets of Human Influence master text valued at $418. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Neuroscientific Storytelling Secrets, $1,950. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you Objection Obliteration and the Art of Speed Conversational Belief Change, $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to give you Charisma and Conversion, Hypnotic Presentation Skills for Speakers and Presenters, $1,950 value. Once again, absolutely free. NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring, 3-month trial membership, plus the 10-year archive, $594. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to throw in as a fast action bonus for the next 15 people that enroll in this program today. We're going to give you the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997, absolutely free. And we're going to throw in that special VIP super ticket that lets you attend in person any single live event in our 2021-2020 calendar. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. All you got to do to collect that is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, and you can take advantage of one of those few remaining packages. All right, so let's go back to this. So let's look at this master echo sequence. So whenever you ask a question, well, let me get this out of the way. So whenever you ask a question, what are you going to do? Let me do this. What do? Hold on a second. Oh, now it's giving me problems. All right, fine, be that way. All right. You're going to echo, validate, echo, ask again, pay attention. You feed it back to them, you ask your next question. What do? You echo, validate, echo, ask again. And you do it again. Now, all you have to do from this point on, if you go back, and again, if you pay attention to what I did, again, lots of bathrooms. So I'm curious, when you talk about lots of bathrooms, I'm curious, what's important? You know, I totally agree. I think having bathrooms, enough bathrooms is totally important, but I'm curious, when you talk about lots of bathrooms, what's behind that? What, what's important about that to you? And they're going to give you a string of sentences, right? You're going to echo, validate, echo, ask again. Okay. When you finally get to the close, which is usually them closing you, by the way, you're going to use cause and effect language combined with complex equivalence language to link what they want to what you have. So if you go back and you listen to my earlier demonstration, you'll hear me say, I've got at least, let me go back to looking at you right now. You'll hear me say, I said something like this, like I've got off the top of my head, you have big bathrooms, big kitchen, or lots of bathrooms, big kitchen, big backyard. I've got at least 4 houses right off the top of my head right now that have those big backyards, lots of bathrooms, and that big kitchen. So as you visit these houses and you experience the size of these rooms and you realize that this matches exactly what you were looking for, those big bathrooms, those lots of big kitchens and things of that nature, you're going to realize that one of these is the perfect house for you. And as you connect what's most important to you about the right kitchen in the right house and the right set of bathrooms in the right house, and you feel at home because you realize inside that this is the house that's going to bring that family together, that this is the house that means a home for your ever-growing family, that allows you to experience that growing sense of contentment and fulfillment that comes from having a home with the big kitchen. Outside, please. The little 7-year-old decided to rush in unexpectedly, which happens in a big family, by the way. You have that big kitchen, you'll be able to experience all of those connections and all of those meetings and those comings together of the people you love. You'll be able to look out your big kitchen window and see your big backyard with all your kids and your grandkids playing together, right? And realize you've created that home that everybody wants to come back to, where everybody can come together. And when you have that, you'll realize how glad you are that you called us today and you made the right decision to move forward. And speaking about it, thinking about it like that, how soon you want to go see them houses, right? Oh, I'm still on the package page? What? Seriously? No.
David, you're good now.
I'm good now? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel better about my life that I have a Stephanie hiding in the back. Okay. All right. So did you see how ask your question, repeat it, acknowledge what they said, agree with it, echo it again, ask your next question, pay attention. Because if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss some gold. Because remember, you're not talking to their conscious mind. You're talking to their unconscious mind, which is where all your emotionally held drivers are from. And the moment you start using these words, you're going to see facial flushing, pupil dilation, unconscious head nods. All of these things are letting you know you're getting to them. All you got to do is keep doing it. Okay. And if you do it enough, they will eventually just say, okay, let's just go ahead. Show me what you got. Right. Any good videos for asking / negotiating a pay raise? Go into my YouTube channel, type in interview skills, pay attention to the interview crusher, which is basically this process. That will help you. I would also reference Chris Voss's material called the Black Swan Method on how to negotiate pay raises and things of that nature. Okay. Meg Noiki says, thank you, David, for sharing your endless knowledge with all of us. So is this helpful? Did the examples I gave, along with the interruption of my 7-year-old, learn you anything? Okay, Deanna says, excellent, excellent. Okay, cool. What else you got? Learned it all, learned me a lot. Cool. All right, I recommend that you go back over this video multiple times, especially the examples that I'm giving you, and actually write them out. Writing them out will absolutely help you to wire these strategies in, okay? Naughty Mom says, perfect, thanks. I was late to the game today. You are addicting, haha. Well, warn you, our videos are kind of habit forming. Bridge E, how to influence people that are stuck in their ways. Start with this process that I just gave you, okay? Then transition into the resistance removal formula and do whatever that formula, and start with whatever step that process gives you. I'm not gonna go over the resistance removal formula today because I did it in my last webinar video. So if you find my last webinar video, I spend probably the entire second half of the video going through the resistance removal protocol, but you want to graph that process onto this that we've just covered. And now you have one of the most powerful 1-2 punches on the planet. Rail MDFK says, can you echo a group of people? Only if they're speaking at the same time, saying the same thing. Otherwise you have to echo them individually. Nate says, what do you recommend first in-person course? And Seth piped right in there. He asked the exact same question I would ask. What are you looking for? Are you looking to be more influential in business, social, religion, and applications? Or are you more interested in therapy, fixing people's stuff? Those are the two big directions that people go to. Lisa says, how does one stop thinking of a certain person? 2 approaches: resistance removal protocol, magic frame. Put those together and you can pretty much put a dead stop halt to that obsessive thinking that you have. The other piece would be what we call color breathing, which is a resolution frequency generator process, which we've demonstrated on other videos. Okay, Nate, if you're interested in influence applications primarily, then start with killer influence. If you are more of a coach who wants to have techniques that you can help people get past their blocks and stuff like that, then start with identity by design. Those are the 2 big things, okay? And then choose which direction you want to go. They're not mutually exclusive, but most people have a chosen field of application that they want to do. So that was what I would recommend. Magic frame, yeah. In fact, I just posted a video, the one I just posted this week, how to reprogram the subconscious mind to get rid of pain. That's the magic frame. Just do what I do with that lady in the video, and you'll have it. Therapy didn't work. Okay, then definitely use the magic frame. Definitely use the magic frame. How to make enter a room and make everyone's jaw drop. Well, Robin, there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to do that. Some of them are not always the most socially acceptable, by the way. Will a person with a narcissistic personality type respond to echo strongly? Yes, sometimes even more so, because you're talking about their favorite person. You're welcome, Lisa. And let me know if you have any questions. Let Stephanie know. She'll pass it on. Once again, if you asked a question, I didn't see it, it went by too fast, maybe it wasn't directly relevant to the focus of today's webinar. In the live stream version of this video, just go to the comments section, retype your question, because I read the comments of all my videos every single day. So if you ask a question in the comment section, then I most likely will read it and I will answer it. Joseph Dean says, does it work with messages? Are you talking about instant messages, Joseph? Yes, it works in, here's the thing I want you to understand. Everything I taught you today works any place that language is involved. Video, audio, phone, chats, Zoom calls, texting, email, letters. Any place language is involved, these techniques hold sway. Okay? Arky Novice says, David, how do you discern when to intentionally use social techniques and when to just intuitively be yourself? Well, that's really simple. If you're just hanging out being yourself and you're getting what you want, the results that you want, just keep doing what you're doing. If you're getting anything else, start looking at how you need to adapt what you do and how you do it to move the environment in the direction you want to move it. Okay. What you'll find though, and this is something that happens, again, you don't have to believe me, just show up at the courses, it'll happen to you. As you become more and more facile and you be immersed in these things, certain things will become instinctive for you. So they won't be something you have to turn on and off consciously. They'll just turn on instantly because they become a part of who you are because you've used them so many times with a good result. Your neurology is not stupid. If a particular way of behaving or responding is getting you a tangible, quantifiable benefit, your neurology will grab a hold of it and keep using it by default pretty quick. But you have to get those reps in first for that mechanism to take place. Nacho Business says, David, sure you've heard of the objective personality typing. What do you think of their work? Objective personality typing? Are you talking about like Myers-Briggs or Big Five and stuff like that? Believe it or not, Nolan, no. No, it's actually, they don't pick it up. Because usually their exact words are sandwiched between other sentences and other phrases that you're using. So they just feel like, hey, this guy gets what I'm talking about. Yeah. There's a lot of controversy about Myers-Briggs. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people swear by it. But the science, the neuroscience behind Myers-Briggs is showing that it's not the most accurate approach. And one of the problems with people who put a lot of stock in an objective single personality profiling tool is that if it shows them, if it identifies a behavioral aspect of themselves that causes them problems, but it says it's a natural part of who you are, they take that personality profile as license to be more of it. And so rather than changing the behavioral characteristic that's causing them a problem, they try to justify being the way they are because of a personality test. And I did there's an interview I'm going to release in a couple of weeks that I did with Lily Walford from Love with Intelligence. And in the attraction and dating arenas, there's this lot of talk about being yourself, right? Just be yourself. And my response to that question, well, what if you're an asshole? Right? What if the identity that is the normal, natural, everyday you is so repugnant to everyone you meet that it causes you nothing but problems? Right? But the personality test says this is who you are, so it's okay to be that way. The dating coaches say this is who you are, so it's okay to be that way. You'll eventually find someone. Probably not. Okay? There's millions of people out there. Their odds are there is somebody out there for you, but the odds of you finding them, well, if you can get through all 7 million people, maybe not so much. So the caveat has to be find the balance between who you are, who you want to be, and the results you produce in the world. And if the person you are now is not producing the result that you want, change who you are until you get the result that you want and find a way to be happy. as this new person. Okay. I love personality assessment tools. I love behavioral profiling tools, but they change as your state changes. If I take a Myers-Briggs when I'm pissed off, I'm going to have a much different result than if I take it when I've just had an orgasm. I won't tell you how I know that. Okay. But our perceptual filters change, our identities change as state and context change. And so it's very, very difficult. A lot of people love to put their whole destiny on the assessment of an arbitrary profiling tool. So I think they can be useful, but if we take that one assessment, that one tool as the overall authority on who we are and who we should be and who we want to be, we're going to sell ourselves really, really short of a lot of good times and a lot of good experiences and a lot of room for growth, right? Because what happens inevitably is people take the label assigned to them from a personality tool as a license to be that way when it's not serving them. And we need to, and again, I'm a neurolinguistic programmer at heart. And so everything I do is about getting the result I want, about things that nothing is good or bad. It's either useful or it isn't. And I need to be able to change who I am and what I do to match the situation to get my outcome. Okay. And when you start to realize that you're not one personality anyway, you're multiple personalities, every single one of us has different neurological subroutines running that turn on and off in random contexts and in emotional states. They're not as authoritative as you might think, right? But again, a lot of people put a lot of stock in those things. They try to match themselves up with people based on their Myers-Briggs profile. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think if you just abdicate critical thinking and common sense to a piece of paper generated by a machine, with little to no scientific validation or verification behind it, you're rolling the dice there with your life. And I don't know that that's the smartest thing to do. All right. Well, we're coming up on our time together. Just want to review one last time this little special offer we've got going on. This is the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. This is what we're offering. The fast action bonuses go away when I log off the webinar, but I will stay on and answer more questions after this. It's the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol valued at $2,079, plus the Killer Influence master text. It's a 240-page expansion on the CPI system, or the universal persuasion protocol, which has all those cool other modules in it on social influence, proxemic influence, authority, attractivity, affinity, acquiescence, social hypnotic operators, things of that nature. It's a $418 value. You're going to get 3-month online unlimited access to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program Training Group and Archive. You'll get the Neuroscientific Storytelling Secrets, Strategic Storytelling. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to get that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you the Objection Obliteration and Speed Conversational Belief Change, valued at $1,950. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. Charisma and Conversion, Storytelling and Hypnotic Presentation Skills for Speakers and Presenters, valued at $1,950. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We already talked about the Mastermind Mentoring Program. We're going to give you, for those of you who are the next 15 to register today, we're going to give you a free copy of the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. It's $997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. Plus, you'll get your live training to a VIP super ticket. It's your choice of any single live event in our 2020-2021 calendar. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. All you got to do to grab yours and get all those amazing bonuses and all that amazing knowledge and skill is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. You can get it all for one low installment of just $997. And if you need a little bit extra help, we can break that into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you need to do is click the link in your chat box there, or type it into your browser, www.killerinfluence.com/go. Once again, it's www.killerinfluence.com. Okay. You may have to put the HTTP in there, but anyway, if Brandon or Stephanie can throw the link in the chats, that would be helpful. Let me take a look at what's going on with our YouTubers. There's cutting edge level question. I know the Tibetan monks have figured it out, but they aren't talking. I don't know what that, I'm not understanding some of these questions, but I'll answer what I can. I remember seeing something about touching people in hot points in the Pua stealth attraction material. Oh, you're talking about, oh, okay. There are certain acupuncture points and meridians that if you stimulate them in the proper order, will trigger somebody to become more sexually and romantically aroused. If you want to understand that, I would recommend you get either the Secret Orgasm Tips home study course or the expanded version, which is known as Unlimited Lover. Those are not on our website. If you want access to that kind of material, reach out to Stephanie directly. One last thing about this package. Let's say you've already bought some of these items in the past. Maybe you've got, the Killer Influence, or maybe you've bought Weapons of Mass Instruction or Objection Obliteration in the past because we offered it on a webinar. If there's something in the package that you already have, you can swap it out for something of equal or lesser value. All you got to do is let Stephanie know, and then we'll find a fit for you. Okay. Okay. Any more questions that I can answer before I turn you all loose into the world? Go back to this. The Tibetan monks know how it works. I was curious if he had any pointers. I don't know what the question is about the Tibetan monks. So if you ask, you know what, when this video goes live, in terms of the replay, ask the question in the comments section, and then I can give you a much more fleshed out and detailed answer. Quick tips to echo more subtly. I'll give you a couple really quickly. First and foremost, people, let me go back to this. I'll show you, again, I'm just going to cover these really quick, and then we're done. Masking the echo technique. See, you didn't think I had this information, did you? All right. So here's some things you can do. You can repeat their words, and for beginners, this is what I recommend you do. You use their words verbatim. So if I say, how do I use this to mask the echo technique? Well, when you use this to mask the echo technique, what you want to do is X, Y, Z. So what I did there was the statement I was echoing, and then I echoed it with a statement. So I can repeat what they said in the form of a question. I can repeat what they said in the form of a statement, right? I can also echo parts of it. So if someone asks me, how do you remove a curse? How can you remove a curse put on you by a witch, right? That's the seed question. I could say, how to remove a curse? Or I could say, how to remove a curse, right? So all that's changed. The exact words are the same, but the tonality is shifted. And so it doesn't get flagged quite as much. I can also echo part of that. I could say a curse, or I could use a statement, a curse, right? Or I could echo the first part, by a witch. By a witch? See, it's the same words. If you look at the structure of what I'm doing here, is I'm whatever comes out of their mouth. If I'm not using the master echo sequence, I can restate what they said in the form of a statement. I can state what they said in the form of a question. I can do it in a question, but I can only do part. I can do a statement of only part, and I can break it up any way I want. You guys see how that works? Okay, I don't have any information on scalar energy work. It's been coming up quite a lot recently in some of my some of the relationships that I have in terms of people who are studying with me, but I don't really have any direct correlations or information regarding scalar energies at this time. Give me some time to do some research and I'll have a little bit more that I can talk about. Okay. But as you can see, I have a whole set of modules here on ways to master the echo technique. And when you come to Killer Influence, you will learn these in spades. You will get really, really good at this. Yes, why do you do this to me? You posted it. I got this. I got it now. But again, go back. You should get my answer before you get this question. So let's see here. So Joseph Dean says, I use the rock star technique often and the plexiglass chest technique. It works pretty good and it helps me with my comments. Perfect. Way to go, Joseph. Keep doing it. It only get, by the way, for those of you who've been through that training, Rockstar Metaframe, Open Heart Trust Trigger, things of that nature, I want to encourage you, keep doing them because it makes them stronger. You build a neuroplastic circuit in your body that each time you access that energy, the amplitude that you give off gets stronger. This is one of the secrets behind our Jedi skills and why we don't teach the state control training to the public. It's only done for our private students. One of the reasons is because once you have this training, every time you do it, you're building in powerful neurological and somatic circuits that create more energetic push, more vibrational push to the influence. They literally only get stronger the more you do them over time. That's why I have clients that can put the whammy on judges, juries, hostile witnesses, expert witnesses for the opposition, because the circuitry that they've built up from doing these things over and over and over again just washes through the people in the room and their perceptual filters change. Okay. So real quick before we sign off. So before we sign off, type in the chat, top 2 or 3 takeaways from today's class. Top 2 or 3 things that you got from today. Just type them in the chat and let me see what you learned. Let me see what our Zoomers are typing. Perfect. I think I must have hit a button on the chat. Okay, Nate, if you're having problems, reach out directly to Stephanie at 858-282-4663. Oops, there's an extra 6 in there, I'm sorry. 858-282-4663. And then for those of you in the other chat, Okay. All right. Julie, reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663, and we'll get that resolved for you one way or the other. Okay. Matthew says I'm going. Okay. All right. So I don't know. Something happened again in my Zoom chat when I'm getting weird. When I go into my chat, I'm not getting. Okay, that's weird. Something happened in my Zoom chat again, so I'm sorry for my Zoomers. I can't answer your questions directly. I'm trying to type them in individually, but that's not helping the people watching. My ex says he has nothing to say. I repeated, I have nothing to say. And what happened? Echo validate. Okay, good. Naughty Mom says, I want to high five your parents. Thank you so much, Mr. Snetter. You are very welcome, Naughty Mom. Maria says the sequence of echo techniques. Perfect. More covert echo. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. You guys are doing great. Robin says, I'm joining the Platinum membership. Thanks, David. You rock. Awesome sauce. All right. Listen, it is 7:03. We've gone just over 3 hours. I hope you got some really cool stuff out of this. If you liked it, please share it, right? Post good things. If you didn't like it, post to somebody else's class, right? If you have a question that I did not answer, once again, in the comments section right below this video when it goes live, type in the question. I read every single comment. I don't always publish every single comment, but I do read and I answer the questions when they're asked. Okay. If I know something, I'll tell you. If I don't know, I'll tell you that too. I've got way too much going on to bullshit people. So I love you all. In the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started. And before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night. God bless. I love you all. Be sure to sign up for, follow me on Clubhouse, follow us on Instagram, follow us everywhere, and get your asses to Las Vegas, March 17th through the 20th, for one of the most powerful influence trainings on the planet that will take you from 0 to hero in the shortest amount of time possible. Call Stephanie at 858-282-4663 or click that link below to get your free VIP ticket and every good thing that goes